Well, hello everybody and welcome to another video, to another episode of, wow, this is really weird seeing my camera so low down when I'm zoomed in, to another episode of Secrets of the Obscure. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting confused between the two expansion names now. In fact, the final episode of Secrets of the Obscure, an episode I've dilly-dallied on a lot, so let's look back at this series, right? The last patch for this came out, I mean, months ago now. And we've trickled the episodes out very steadily. Okay, so this is the last one for real. In fact, the past 3 or 4 I've been saying this is the last one. This actually is the last episode. I think the playlist is a mess. There's like an episode of Zeus in the middle or something. Some of you guys have reported that, so thank you very much. I will fix that. But it's just gone on and on and on. And you know, if you're watching the whole playlist in a row, you know why enthusiasm for me for Secrets of the Obscure is pretty low. We do at least have Janthir Wilds coming out, but I mean, I was planning to do this episode like at least 2 weeks back or something. I think a little bit before that I did my Ceres video. Had I done that? I can't remember. I was definitely talking a lot about Ceres in the previous part, but I can't remember whether I'd beaten him already and done the video or not with the previous episode. Anyway, so I am still playing a good amount of Guild Wars 2. Kind of. I mean, mostly I've been logging in once a week to do a re-clear of Ceres, and that's about it, which has not been very much gameplay. Most of my focus has been other things, which I guess we can talk about very soon. But yeah, so we're going to do this, and today I've really left it up to the wire. It is the middle of the night on a Monday night. I was planning to do this all day. I had internet issues earlier. I was tired. It was hot. I overate in the afternoon and actually had a nap for a few hours. And now here we are. It's 11 o'clock on a Monday. I'm going to be doing it. And this is the last day before Janthir Wilds. So Janthir Wilds is right on the cusp. What that means is we've got a lot of stuff coming. The long like stream gaps. I've not been in like a stream heavy phase for ages now. But we're kind of coming back to streamy WP for a good while now, because here's the plan, guys. We're gonna do this today, and we're gonna beat Secrets of the Obscure. And what I'm gonna do is, here's the current plan. It might change a little bit, but I'm pretty solid on it. We are gonna do a stream every other day for the next good long while, because we'll do this. Then, so tomorrow will be release day of Janthir Wilds. I'm not going to stream on release day. That gives you guys a chance to get in there and play it. Possibly beat the thing, let's be real. And then the day after I'm going to start streaming, and what I'll do is there won't be like there'll be like the same length streams as this this playthrough series has been, so somewhere in the order of 2 to 3 hours each time. And I'm going to do a stream every other day. We'll go all the way through Janthir Wilds. We'll see how we feel when we get to the end of it in terms of like epilogue content and post-game. If you actually recall, and it all depends on the quality of the expansion. This expansion, if you remember, they did quite a few cool lore collections and achievements and interesting little things. I, to this day, have not done those still. We finished the stream series for Secrets of the Obscure, and kind of thought maybe they'd be interesting, but most of them were, if you remember, basically just go. In fact, I can show you, I think. Let's have a look. If we go collections, no, not collections. If we go to Secrets of the Obscure, and then we go to, I don't know, well, no, where would they be actually? Maybe they would be in collections. Side stories? No, they're not going to be in side stories. But there were basically a bunch of, like the Wizard's Tower, I'm sure has a few here. It's like Zodja's Journal here. Or like Hide and Seek, Sorrow's Lost here. For example, these were all quite interesting in terms of the story they were delivering. And they weren't bad at all. If you remember, most expansions actually, since Heart of Thorns, it began in POF, ArenaNet have done very good side content. In End of Dragons, I remember streaming a bunch of it. And people saying, oh my god, what is this story? Or where did you get this? Or like, because they're like voice acted and you even get like kind of cutscenes and stuff. Remember all the stuff around Zendaijan? They're good. It's good stuff. So I kind of wanted to do it for Secrets of the Obscure, the first mini X-Pack. And they look okay, but most of the content is like return to the maps and do all the events and things that I'd already streamed. And as you guys know, I'm not really all about that. I don't like streaming the same thing over and over and over and over again. I've never really been that kind of a content creator that just sort of sits there and, like, just plays, if you will. So I don't know. So it was kind of tricky, and I ended up not doing it. I haven't done a bunch of these. But it was good content. So, look, when we get to the end of Janthir Wilds, if ArenaNet are back on form, if they've really grabbed us and it's really exciting and cool, and the content is a little bit more interesting than just go back and do the current events. I'm even open to doing some epilogue stuff. I really am, because at the end of the day, it's all content to me, and it's all worth playing. I don't delineate, like, I don't say, oh, just because it's open world, it's not real, or it's not worth playing or stuff, which is kind of how a lot of people have felt about Guild Wars releases in the past. You know, this whole thing about, like, oh, it only takes 2 hours to be living world. That's cutting out like 70% of the content in the game to make a statement like that, and people will do that without irony. I don't do that. I'm happy to do the other stuff, so there could be quite a few episodes. I'm prepared for Janthir Wilds to be short. So I think today we can talk about some of our predictions, I guess, in terms of quality and quantity, but I honestly am not expecting it to be more than like 5 or 6 streams. If we get over 10 streams on the base story, I'll be very shocked. I'm expecting it to be very similar to this, and that won't be particularly satisfying, I must be honest. So, but we'll see what they do. So anyway, that's Janthir Wilds, and that will take however long it will take. I can't put an estimate on it because I don't really know how long it is and whether we'll do the post game. But we're gonna do that. We're just gonna keep doing streams every other day, and the plan is, that on all the off days, I will upload LP episodes. As you guys know, the past couple of months, I've done the most stupid thing ever, really. I've got a bunch of content ready to go for you guys, like loads of content, but I haven't been posting it because I'm constantly got this thing like, oh, I should really be doing Guild Wars stuff. You know, we're in a press cycle. I should be doing Guild Wars stuff. So I dot it out between the Guild Wars things. Well, if I'm streaming that regularly, then I'll be very happy to put up the other LP stuff. So there'll be lots going on. I kind of want to do more, but at the end of the day, I'm uploading very little at the moment. I'm not really in people's schedules and stuff, and I think it would be a bit ridiculous to say, here's a massive stream, here's a massive LP episode. Because especially with Zeus, some of those episodes are going to get long. Believe me, very long. So, so yeah, I will just say it'll be stream LP, stream LP, stream LP, stream LP, stream LP, stream LP. We will finish Janthir Wilds, and around as we finish Janthir Wilds, the 6 LP will finish. No, not Janthir Wilds, Secret of the Obscure, sorry. And, no, yes, Janthir Wilds. As we finish Janthir Wilds, I'll have 6 finish, and we'll be done with Guild Wars again, waiting for their next release. I'm going to go straight into FF14. So, I've been doing a lot of stuff with that, setting up the next series. I'm really excited to do it. It's going to be A Realm Reborn. It's the start of the game. So it's a really good starting point for literally anyone to watch, because it's going to be the earliest playable story. Not the earliest story, that's 1.0, but we'll talk about that later. But so, yeah, and I've spent a huge amount of time. My playtime in that MMO has been enormous. If you guys remember, we do have a Steam group. I think if you look on the Steam group, you'll see my profile there, and you will see like just like a billion FF screenshots I've been posting onto Steam and stuff lately. So yeah, just loads and loads and loads of work's been going on to that, and I'm really, really excited about that. So that's why and that will take however long. So yeah, and that will be the same. It will be streams every other day. Is my plan right now. I mean, these things might change, but that's basically what what I'll be setting up. So there you go, a little taste of the future there. The reason I'm kind of bombing all this info out here at the start is, as for today's episode, I'm pretty sure when we go into Desperate Measures, it says just discuss the plans for the assault on Zakharos. Hold on, who were we playing last time? It wasn't Necro, wasn't it? Oh, we could do our cool titles as well. See, I don't think I had Champion Brawler in the last episode. This is really cool because it makes you look like an enemy. I don't think I had that, and then obviously Embodiment of Sin. I talked to you guys about. I don't really know what title I want to rep. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Embodiment of Sin on my Rev, because that's the character that got it. Meanwhile, we can do other, but I mean my Rev got the purple one as well. It would have been nice to have class swapped between the two actually, because then I could have spread them out or something. I don't know. And then obviously the really cool one doesn't even have a colour. I guess we'll put that on here because it's somewhat thematic for the playthrough today. We'll rep Embodiment of Sin, which was all about the destruction of Ceres, and today we're going to kill Eparch, the big bad boss at the top. So yeah, I think we're at the end. We should be at the end. So I wanted to get all that info out at the start. Let's just go in and see what happens here. I guess we've dilly-dallied long enough anyway. And yeah, hello to everyone in chat. Can I just say for a second? Hello to everyone in chat. Sorry I've been talking so much without really acknowledging it. I'm amazed we've got this many people here because it is the middle of the night, really. It's not the worst stream time I've ever had. I mean, I've done some god-awful late ones before. But yeah, thank you for coming, guys. Let me see if there's any questions here that I can answer. You hope they do something more like the End of Dragons Marjorie collection? Yeah, that was like an epilogue, wasn't it, really? It's funny because we're going to be doing an epilogue here. But you're talking about where her sisters arrive and there's all that voice acting and then they end up at Arborstone at the end. I mean, EOD had some really good ones, right? I think all that stuff, you can get a whole second salt spray at the at Arborstone. You know, can't you recruit Albacks? I'm pretty sure that was something that we did. EOD was awesome. And it looks like the lore in this one was also very, very cool as well. It's prime time for US. Hey, maybe, yeah, that's kind of a good thought. I'm being very Eurocentric. Yeah, as for Janthir Wilds, I am aware that ArenaNet have done a bunch of streams and stuff. To be honest, guys, I haven't kept up with any of it. My enthusiasm, my motivation has been so low. And it's weird, I hate not being enthusiastic about Guild Wars. I really don't like it. I feel like I'm sort of betraying the scene in some way. I feel like, you know, I should be doing better, that it's sort of my duty to love the game and to drink and everything. But they've lost me. They really have lost me, I think. And I don't want to... there's something weird about watching all that stuff and, like... I don't know. So basically, I've left myself as blind as possible for the X-Pack. I do know some things, obviously. Almost every episode of this series has opened with me talking about a little bit more news here and there. But, yeah, and, you know, people have brought things to my attention in the Spud Discord. But when you watch my Janthir Wilds
and after we breach the walls?
There are 3 towers.
It'll be pretty blind.
And all must be taken if we are to win the day.
We're going to have to split our forces between them. If we try to take them one at a time, the defenses will shred us.
Did we see this already?
What do you need me to do?
You will join me as I infiltrate the spider's lair.
Of course, that assumes.
My lady, please. I am hurt and beg a favor of you.
AWP, what's the hardest achievement you've ever completed in any game ever? That's a good question. There's different sorts of difficulty, aren't there, really? Like, the EOS thing is hard, but one of the reasons it's hard is because you're in the variability of being in a team, right? Everything has to go times 10, and it all has to go perfect across 10 people, which is a lot of innate difficulty. You know, when we were progging that, there was a lot of conversation about whether you can just expect people to dodge everything. And, you know, there's maybe, I think this is a really silly idea, but there's maybe this idea that everyone can dodge everything. But in my perspective, you know, there's going to be a point of failure somewhere. Yeah, like, if you count the amount of dodges required in that fight across all players, you know, what is it? I don't actually know the timing, but let's say it's every 30 seconds there's a pools mechanic. I don't think it is every 30 seconds. And it's a 10-minute fight, right? That is... so that's 2 per minute. So that's 20... and then it's across 10 players. So that's 200. So you're asking for 200 perfectly timed, frame-perfect dodges in a row. You know, and at a certain point, yeah, there's such a thing as practice, but, you know, I don't know if you guys watched the Euros this year. Did I talk about the Euros? Oh, I think the Euros were going on during the last episode. I had a lot of fun with the Euros. Obviously, the UK did quite well. I kind of hate national football, though, and then going on Reddit and seeing how much everybody hates the UK. But anyway, you know, you look at that, you look at professionals who have dedicated their entire lives to kicking a ball. They'll go up, take a penalty, and they will sometimes miss, you know. You have to have strats and understanding that you're not going to get 200 in a row. You're not going to get a 99% accuracy. You're going to get 90% or something. You need strats to work around it. That's my view on it anyway. But, you know, a lot of that difficulty is not really, it's not on you as an individual. It's the patience for everybody, and people learn different things at different paces to all catch up. So it's kind of, it's this thing, you know, like, people think it's this high prestige, but it's just another form of time sink, really. It's just, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the arbitrary grind threshold that the devs set up, telling you to kill 200 mobs? Or are you waiting for the arbitrary amount of time for everybody to align on the thing that they've learned in the team-based context? I don't know. Am I being a bit heady and stupid about this? What's the hardest achievement I've ever done? Hardest achievement? It's weird because my mind immediately goes to like stuff I did years ago. Like, obviously, I'm thinking a lot about Final Fantasy at the moment in prep for this LP. What I'm thinking of here is in 10, the 200 lightning dodges. Now that was fucking hard, as I remember anyway. 200 it's funny because there's that number 200 again. That's 200 perfect dodges in a row where it's blink and you miss it, failure. That was hard. I also remember the Chocobo minigame on that being really, really hard. The Chocobo race where you need to get a time of less than 0. But there was a lot of RNG in that as well. I also think about like in League, climbing in League when you're like in a horrible MMR pit, and you're not GOQ or anything like that, and you're like scraping away plus 11 per fucking win. The game wants you to lose, or minus 16 for a single loss, and you've got to crawl your way out at a staggeringly slow pace out of bronze or whatever. I've done that before and go all the way up to plat, and I think that was really hard. But again, it's kind of just a time sink in a way. I don't know. Isn't everything a time sink? Speaking about professional athletes, isn't that essentially just where you put your time? I don't know. What about you guys? What's your hardest achievement? I'll cop out and ask other people. Or maybe you've seen a video of mine where I've done... I mean, even my entry to YouTube with the Iron Man series, the Guild Wars 1 Iron Man series, which if you remember, the Guild Wars 1 players don't consider what I considered Iron Man to be Iron Man anymore. They say it's Iron Man when it's actually way, way easier. But I like soloed prophecies without like any sequence breaks for the most part. After Thunderhead Keep, I did swap and I got rid, which was a sequence break. I did SOS spam for the end of it. That was hard. That was very hard. I've told this story a million times, but I'll tell it again because I guess it's somewhat interesting. That was so difficult that I nearly quit. There are many, many different things that have happened in my life that could have meant I'm not sitting here right now making videos. And one of them happened in that LP. If you go back and you watch my original Prophecies LP, which I acknowledge is very dated at this point, by the way, and I was actually fantasizing about doing an updated version of it when I was into Guild Wars 1 a couple of months ago. When I get to the Maguma Jungle, there's a mission there that I thought was impossible. I genuinely thought, I can't do this solo. It's not. And I was kind of burning out of the series at that point. People weren't really watching.
They hope to silence Her Majesty at the cost of their lives.
And, you know, the magic had run out. I was getting no viewership at all. Like 10 people per episode were watching or something, I think. Actually, I think I looked back and it was a few more than that.
You smell it on their remains too, don't you, Ramses?
And I went into the mission thinking I'm going to quit. This isn't going to work and I'm going to quit. And I went in and it worked. So I kept playing.
Something sweeter.
I think it was Aurora Glaze. Alright, anyway, serious.
Prepare the soldiers to move. Zakiros awaits.
Time to top that hardest achievement and go for Titangrad. Yeah, so Rocker learned about Titangrad the other day. So if you guys, I think I've talked about this in the 12 LP already. I might not have, actually. This is the problem with the 12 LP. It's not just the mods. I can't remember what I've talked about. I need to rewatch it myself, to be honest. But so, just so you guys know, in the international version of 12, they added a bunch of weapons that were invisible. Basically, just weapons with no model. Just for fun. And they're like OP as all hell. And the most OP one is like, I think it's the longbow. So it has just this epic range. It has no animation time. And the stats on it are obscene. Like, utterly obscene. It's basically a dev hack weapon. Because it's got such crazy range, no animation, you just basically ping, 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 just kill everything in sight, basically. But the way you get it is... you have to, you get on the airship, you take any airship route you like. I think people go from like Rabanasta to Bujerba or something. I think you want to make sure that you've already done the Deathclaw encounter as well, because there's a remake of the Deathclaw encounter in 6, in 12. So you make sure that the ship is clear, basically. And you've got, I think the numbers are a 1 in 100 chance for the chest to spawn when you walk onto the airship deck. So, thankfully, you don't have to plot a new airship route every time. You just have to load in and out of the door, in and out of the airship to refresh the zone. So, you walk onto the airship deck. 1 out of 100 times a chest will spawn. but the chest is invisible. So no one. So even if you were a player on the international version that did the airship route, and there's no reason you'd ever do that in the normal game. I mean, you might go on it once, but multiple times. But even if it spawned for you, it would be invisible. The only way to know where it is to walk onto the very like top back of the ship to an area of the deck that you would never walk, and maybe while walking there you'd realize there's collision there and that you can't travel for some reason, and then you would have to blindly hit X on the off chance that you've realized there's an invisible chest there, and then you can open the chest. But opening the chest isn't enough, as you guys remember, and I will have talked about this in the series already. Everything's random in that game, so you've got like, normally it would be like a 60% chance for a common item, 40% chance for a rare item. If you roll a rare item, there's like a 20% chance it's gear, or there's an 80% chance it's like nothing, or you can equip that item that changes the whole loot table, and most of the time it's shite, but sometimes like 1% of the time it's something good. So anyway, this invisible chest only spawns 1% of the time, and then when you open it, 99% of the time it's empty, or it's a single potion or something. It's effectively empty. That final one, and I think I got the numbers right, that final 1% of the time, it can be a rare. And if you roll it as a rare, then it's like another 1% chance it might be this bow. So it's less of a feature and more of an Easter egg, really. But that game's huge for that kind of stuff, you know, like the Zodiac Spear and stuff was equally contrived and ridiculous. So yeah, it is nuts. And again, is that a hard achievement to get that? Oh god. Hold on, how have we fucked this up here? Was that just an updraft I just flew into? Because it definitely... Oh no, there's a ley line up there. Oh no, there's some kind of... You know what, I've never seen one of those. I've never actually seen that there are demons that blow and keep you away. Alright, we're going to follow the Midnight King up the spire, by the way, to bring a little bit of attention to the LP here. It's so low quality, oh my god. Well, maybe not, we'll just have a chit-chat. Yeah, I don't know, is that an achievement to get that? I think it's just a time sink. No, but I remember reading forums like on Game FAQs all about this, because Game FAQs used to be the place for these kinds of discussions. And what people used to do is, it was so difficult, they would just stay at the door and they would listen to their PS2. They'd get down close to the actual PS2, and they realized that when you load in and the chest has spawned, there's a distinctive click sound. Like there's an extra actual physical click from the disc being read in a certain way as you go in and out of that specific loading screen. And that was the most efficient way to farm that chest, or to just get that chest once. Stay at the door, listen to your PS2 for a specific click. And you best know what that click sounds like, because if you're even a little bit unsure, the whole exercise is going to feel terrible. And then that way, at least you can load in and out 100 times. And in 100 times, you've hopefully averaged out to the odds of getting it spawn. Not even getting the item, but just getting the chest to spawn. And it's funny, with stuff like that, I would never do that anymore. I would never do stuff like that. I mean, I didn't do it in the past either. But my instant thought when I think of stuff like that is, that's a waste of time. Just emulate it, or mod it. You know, buy it on PC and mod it. Do what you want. Because, you know, as time's gone on, these games, especially older games like that, they've just become so flexible. And emulation as well, for what it's worth. For many, 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 many years, the international edition of FF12, the only way you could really play it was to mod it. I can't remember the guy's name anymore, but there was a patcher, a third-party patcher, that meant if you had completely legally and you know, all above the board purchased your Japanese copy of International Zodiac Job System and perfectly legally ripped that ISO, so now you had that ISO on your hard drive that you got through completely authentic means. Once you have the International Zodiac Job System ISO and the regular, you know, Western localized ISO, you could run this third-party patcher, and he would take the localization text from the English version and the English fonts and all that and apply it across to the international version. And then there would be some custom stuff in there as well for the weird bits that weren't getting caught. And it was like magic. I remember, I could still, right here as I speak right now, remember the excitement and enthusiasm I felt. Like, wow, this is so cool. Just for the existence of such a thing. But obviously, if you're going to do all that, you know, I never had a chipped PS2 or anything like that. I wasn't going to burn a goddamn... So basically, you'd be emulating the game anyway. And in a world where you're emulating anyway, it immediately feels a bit like, well, what's the point in actually grinding for this stuff? You know, what is the point? And you've got to remember, the International Edition also has its own turbo mode. And that, you know, Square Enix themselves put, like, hardcore cheats in all these remasters and stuff now, you know. There's always like a no encounters mode or a 10 times gill mode or stuff. Even in my 6 LP, there was the patch. Just as I came back to 6 earlier this year, they had done a patch with a billion other things. So anyway, all right, let's do a quick recap here. This is the end of Secrets of the Obscure, guys. At the bivouac, strategic planning was in full swing. As we walked through the camp discussing the plan to split our forces between Zakiris' towers, a wounded Kryptis in the infirmary leapt at Paether. Her cry, "Death to the false king," signalled a vicious attempt at Paether's life. We staved off the initial assassination attempt, but chaos ensued. The rock-walled corridor exploded in a shower of stones, and loyalist guerrillas struck from all angles. We desperately beat them back, holding out against waves of assassins. This was all just now, by the way. When the final loyalist fell, I found Frode and Nephis with Paether. As we took stock of the situation, Paether jarringly burst into laughter. Ramses questioned her, and she asked him what he smelled on the assassin's remains. Fear, he answered, almost in disbelief. Could it be? Was Eparch acting out of desperation? Did he truly fear the assault on his citadel, despite the numbers at his back? I suppose we'll know soon enough. The time to strike against the citadel of the Midnight King has finally come. Finally indeed, guys. You've had to wait quite a few weeks for this. So let's just remind ourselves, at the end of the last episode, I talked about this in the previous episode of the playlist, there was a big thing. When I say episode there, I mean episode, in-game episode. Release. I'm talking about the release shortly after Christmas. At the end of that release, it was established that Eparch has 1 billion forces, and there was probably a massive attack coming. But when this episode started, so they had a big cliffhanger. Oh, lots of spectacle, the big demon fight's going to happen. But then nothing happened. So we're kind of like, well, what's going on here? Where? So he apparently has a huge army, but where is his army? Okay. Dagda has, oh, that's her staff. Well, her greatsword. Holy shit. Do you know what that honestly looked like? I couldn't see the... It's very dark in here. My god. I'm not running reshade or anything. It looked like a World versus World orb or something, you know, like her own one.
We must pursue Eparch. Now! We cannot allow him time to recover. With so few of us left to fight, you feel Eparch's multitudes waiting ahead as I do, General. They overwhelm the senses. This chance will never come again, slight as it may be. We must strike.
Indeed we must. Dagda, Frode, Arena, take the portal. Rally any who stand to cover our flanks.
Paether.
Majesty.
Respectfully, I've walked the path with you this far. I'm not stopping here.
Very well. Dagda, Frode, should we fail, I ask that you give asylum to my people.
The Wayfinder and the Outrider fight with you. You won't fail.
I said I won't stream on release day, so probably so that I can play myself. I'm not sure on that yet, actually. I'm gonna say I don't know. In a weird way, I think blind is probably the better way to go.
Eparch moves swiftly when provoked. His forces must be at the ready. Yet I sense they do not attack. Why? Do not forget, he stayed his hand upon witnessing Labrys's sacrifice. If ever there was a time for him to act without thought, that was it.
Yes, we fight on Eparch's turf. He is ancient and cunning. There can be no doubt he is prepared.
The enemy lurks. Be on your guard.
Yeah, I remember playing this and thinking, oh, there may be... I remember thinking, I'm always looking for this. I'm always looking for that moment where they make a villain sympathetic in some way. And, oh, maybe he's... Like, these guys are saying he's ancient and cunning, but so far we've seen he's been mostly peaceable. You know, like, he stayed his hand and stuff, so I was quite curious about this when I played this the first time. But we'll see where it's going. Yeah, my instinct for Janthir Wilds is it would be a better series This is weird that I'm playing minions. Why am I playing minions? Also, I just tapped C there for closest target because I've got that set up in FF, and I forgot I don't actually use that in Guild Wars. I might standardize my controls between both games. It might be better to do it blind, and look, this is kind of not a nice thing to say, but if the expansion isn't good, blind will be better because it won't be me saying ugh, or feeling odd about it and like trying to bury. It will be me genuinely curious. It'll be my blind playthrough. It'll be me actually curious, like, oh, what are they doing? Ooh, this could be good. And then, yeah, if it's a letdown at the end, fine. But at least we had a fun time getting there. Do you get what I mean? And I'm not even really joking around there. That's a very serious consideration for me in terms of like the quality of the LP. Plus, in some ways, I do like blind stuff. So, like with FF, I've been thinking a lot about what class I'm going to play in the upcoming series. And and it's going to be on a new character and stuff, so I could play it on my current character. And I nearly did. Just yesterday I was like, maybe I should pick this class up. But I thought actually it would be better to just see me explore this and play this live. It will be more fun, and it will have a nice, more like natural element to it. If you think about it, that entire 14 series was blind, and the whole thing was very fun. So I don't know, so maybe I will play it on release day. Privately, I might play bits. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But doing it blind here might be a safer choice. Also, what was that question a second ago? Jesus. Scroll up. Oh no, I didn't have to scroll up. Robin the Hood said thoughts on an expansion of 0 features but loads of content. I mean, it just generally in principle, I'm all for it. I think that's a really good idea for Guild Wars because I mean, I've been saying this before End of Dragons released and the skiffs and all of that. This was a big conversation for me already. You know, POF added mounts. The thing with ArenaNet, right, is they're so enthusiastic and they're so extra and they put in so much effort that they don't really leave much room for expansion. They go too fast, too quick. So with POF, they added mounts, right? And they added every conceivable fun thing that you could do with mounts. They added a brilliant system, but not a very expandable one. So once End of Dragons was coming out, by all accounts, an expansion I didn't think they ever planned to make realistically. It was like, well, what the fuck do they do? You know, what mount do they do? So we ended up getting skiffs. And it was kind of like, okay, these are quite fun. And actually, I ended up, and I'll say this, I was wrong about the skiffs because I ended up having quite a lot of fun with them. But they felt like a bit of a weird, odd one out. And I remember already back then with End of Dragons, having a lot of conversation of like, okay, do we need these features? I remember people saying, oh, only fishing and skiffs, this expansion sucks, this is rubbish. And it's like, well, what do you need? You know, at a certain point, I've said this many times over the most recent years, at a certain point you have to look at what Guild Wars 2 currently is with its feature base, and you have to say, do I like this game or not? They can't reinvent the wheel every single expansion. At a certain point you have to say, okay, look, they've got a suite of features here. Am I having fun when I'm playing this suite of features? Because it's not infinitely expandable. It just becomes bloat, you know. Is the core game fun anymore? And, you know, if your answer 13 years later, multiple expansions later, is still no, and you're waiting on a feature list on an expansion for some fucking feature to come in that will turn it all around and make you happy, don't think that's going to happen anymore. I don't think that Guild Wars 2 is what Guild Wars 2 is. You're probably looking for Guild Wars 3 at that point. Or you've not given it any real thought whatsoever. So yeah, I believe in expansions that are just content. Yeah, I think that ArenaNet can say, look, this is our fucking game. Do you want to play it? Yes, I think they can do that. I don't think they need to reinvent the wheel. This expansion here kind of didn't really add much in the way of features. And I think this expansion wasn't very good, but I don't think it's because it had a limited feature base. I think it's because the content was also like, you know, I want a good, rich story and a fun adventure. That's what I want. To a certain other extent, there are like bigger things that I'm upset about with Guild Wars, but most of them are to do with like re-leveling and the core experience and onboarding new players and how it works as an RPG, and then on the top end how like how they handle the, you know, the difficult content and compositions and all that kind of stuff. But those are sort of ephemeral. They don't really matter that much. The base game, I think, would be good. Its main problem is they don't put enough stuff into it. That's all it is, really. Okay, so here we've got this book, and you see I got an achievement when I picked this up. Now, this is because when I played this with Kerry about, well, whenever this came out, we ran through and we grabbed all the books, but we missed the very first one. We were very annoyed about it, and we'll come back and replay the start, but never did. So there, I missed this on the first one through. I was the party leader, and it was my responsibility to press F and stuff, and I missed it. So these were really weird. They're poems more than anything else, if I remember rightly. So Eparch's fear. Remember, we're speculating he's fearful. I've never read this. Let's see what it says. As you reach out to the essence, a surge of preserved ancient memory pours through your mind. Jungle heat, writhing vines, the dragon seas. We're talking about Mordremoth. Interior, vibrant, lush, and humid. Cacophony. Bounding creatures, croaking ceases. I feed, sleep, dreams. Something watches, something enters. Wake, my brother screams. Vines dragging, gone. Following a dark place, a wicked tree. My brother suspended, absorbed. The voice dominating, it is the jungle. I resist, I flee, fear, fear, fear. It knows, sees through my dreams. Days, nights, I scurry, flee. Kill to survive, the vines follow, threatening oblivion. Weak, pathetic, I do not fear, but I do. Until him, I collapse. His resplendence is Garen. Oh my god! Okay, this is amazing! Wait, okay, so hold on, are we saying that Eparch's origin... As we all know, Eparch was in the wizard's court. He petitioned for Isgaren's spot, didn't he? Or wait, was he trying to just get in, or was he trying to become the top dog? I can't remember. I think he was trying to become the top... Anyway, how he met their society... He was in the Maguma jungle when fleeing Mordremoth. But this wouldn't have been in the recent cycle. This would have been in a previous Elder Dragon cycle. Maybe the first previous one, or the one even before that. This is amazing. Hold on, we got anyone in chat who wants to talk about this? That's so cool. That's how I interpret that anyway. I was thinking as this was going along that he was getting caught and then going to become, whoever this author was going to become a memory. Was going to become a Mordrum. And I collapse, Resplendence. That's like, you know, when a Sylvari becomes a Mordrum, they just sort of stop thinking and they're at peace or whatever. You know, classic sort of zombie stuff. But no, it was Isgaren saving him, bringing him in. So also, this suggests that Eparch had a brother. Unless we're talking about a brother metaphorically, but I don't think they are. So Eparch had some... who became a Mordrum. So what was the fate of that Mordrum? Did they become a champion? Were they similar to Diarmid or whatever? The wicked tree, I'm thinking, is a blighting tree. So yeah, my brother suspended, absorbed, I think. But that's how I'm reading this. I mean, maybe I'm totally wrong. But and then look at this comparison here between sleeping and dreaming, the dream of dreams and so on, among the Sylvari, and then this is the realm of dreams. I've been interested for ArenaNet to sort of talk about the two. See, this is the thing though, like, Secrets of the Obscure is... This is all really rich, cool storytelling, but the thing is, what I want is like a tangible conversation about it, and we get these weird glimpses in these people. They're just not... It's great, but I do feel a bit hollow about it. It's like, oh man, but we're not getting cutscenes, we're not getting dialogue, we're not getting people discuss these things. It doesn't matter for the main story, so it feels a bit like Blue Balls or something, I don't know. Also, that question of where's it going, I'm a bit sick of after 13 years, you know? I don't know, that's kind of cool. So anyway, so that's my interpretation of that. So one of the things, I've got to be honest, one of the things I've been reticent about with this episode of the series, definitely has been a factor in my mind, is we have a huge epilogue to play. A huge, I mean, it just goes on and on and on, which is great, right? It's content, that's what I'm saying I want. So it's good, but it's going to take a long time to get through the epilogue. But also, I have secretly known that here in this Citadel instance, there's like 10 of those poems to do as well. So there's a lot.
Strike swiftly! Give them no time to set a defense. Try
But
hard.
I don't think so many of those poems I'm going to keep calling them poems. I don't know what else to call them, really. I think a lot of them they're not as tangible as that is. I don't remember anything seeming that concrete. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I needed the context of the first one to be able to appreciate all the other ones. Oh, I will note as well, so we did the meta and everything in the previous part. I've not on a stream, but I have done coverage now of Ceres and all the strikers and stuff. However, there is the Fractal, which I've not only not produced any content on, I've not even played. I have not touched the new Fractal yet. So technically, we haven't done everything in this expansion. We're right up in the last day now. But maybe we can squeeze that in somewhere in the Janthir Wilds stuff. Also, yeah, I was asking the guys that I've been doing Ceres with about the new raid, and they were saying that the new raid is a few months after release, and then like the difficult modes, the LMs or whatever, that they are going to be even after that. So it's looking like at least 6 months before any more difficult end game. Which kind of puts ArenaNet onto a weird thing now, which will be every year they produce one really good meaty content piece for difficult endgame. Because they did HCCM, and then about a year later was Ceres, and then about a year later will be this Raid Wing. The Raid Wing obviously is quite interesting because it's going to be 3 pieces at once, unless they filter them out. And it's weird to me, it seems like a missed opportunity to do 3 at once. I feel like they should spread those out a bit. It should be every release offers something for players at all scales. Casual, which they always cover, which they should because it's the thickest end of the bell curve. Mid-core and hardcore should get something as well, though. And with Secrets of the Obscure, they dropped the ball on the Dagda release, which I think is just unacceptable, frankly. It was such a dropped ball. But, you know, Ceres was good. And if they're going to do a Raid Wing, then surely that's 3 encounters. Can't they just do LM, LM, LM? No? And then, yeah, I guess I'm also asking for a Fractal in there somewhere. Or it feels like the kind of thing they should do. I don't know. The raid is on the 2nd release. Yeah, so... And I don't think it comes with, like, an LM straight away. So that would be the LM on the 3rd release, which, yeah, would be after Christmas, after New Year's. We'd be looking at January or something. It's amazing how quick time goes, isn't that? Just fucking baffling to even be thinking about. Okay, yeah, more questions as well. During these long I like these long fights. Oh, we should be sealing the rifts. That's why it's going on forever. I was going to say, these long fights are perfect for streaming, because I can get some I can ramble a bit, then get some Q&A. I always feel crowded out when I'm streaming Guild Wars as well, because I'm fighting for airtime over the relentless dialogue. Alright, we'll close this one. Right, what's this question? You're not caught up on Guild Wars media, but you love the franchise. There are many talks of what the chances are of a new Guild Wars game. Yeah, there was news, but not. I don't even want to call it news. To me, it's been very obvious for years that ArenaNet are interested in another game, and are clearly at the very least doing a bit of R&D or whatever on it. Clearly, I mean, everything has pointed to that for years and years, and it's not news. But I can't even remember what happened now. Something like really basic happened, and it sent everyone into a frenzy of like, oh, GW3, to the extent that even I did a video about it. And the studio said, yeah, look, we're always exploring new possibilities, and that was about it, which was an excellent response. So yeah, I think that they're doing a Guild Wars 3. Or as I prefer to think of it, Project Tyria. That's what I've always said I think that they should do. I think the name for this franchise is not good. Considering it has 0 representation in the lore at this point, or the mechanics. I kind of love the name though, because it's one of those things, you know, you see this on the internet all the time. You know that phrase, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Well, maybe that's not the right phrase to use actually. But you know how, like, people can get a tiny piece of information and then they think they're the expert about a thing. So you get a lot of, like, actuallys, even though... And I'm sure I'm guilty of doing this myself. Even though they only have a piece of the puzzle. That happens with the title all the time.
Is it truly so dire?
Hundreds lie in wait. More, perhaps. It is difficult to discern They writhe.
I spoke true. A better opportunity to strike will never present itself.
Oh yeah, that was it.
That
NC
does not
Soft.
mean
That
the
was it.
odds
Yeah.
are favorable.
We will turn this army to our
NC
side.
Soft at an investors meeting.
Majesty, surely not. I will follow you to my death. But you cannot believe, after all that's happened,
No, we will turn them to our side. There is no other way.
Yeah, NC Soft at an investors meeting threw them under the bus by publicly announcing that they had a product in development. They had absolutely no. I don't think they should have done that at all. Yeah, just to substantiate the thing about the title, it's always this thing of like, oh, why is it called Guild Wars when there's no actual Guild Wars? Which is a stupid criticism. It is a fucking dumb thing to say that has nothing to do with whether the game's good or not. You know, at the end of the day, it's just a title. You know, we're literally just talking about judging a book by its cover when we dare to criticize the title of the franchise. It is an irrelevance, really. So already the criticism's stupid. But that the little knowledge response is always, well, actually, it's a thing in the lore, so it does make sense. But, you know, that still is only a tiny part of the story, because that lore was written as a band-aid to fix the fact that actually, yeah, it is named Guild Wars because they originally were PvP-centric, and it's not totally out of the world, this world, to kind of want that feature. But it dates back to Guild Wars 1, not Guild Wars 2, and if we're talking about GVG, again, that's just a label. You know, there are elements of the GVG experience, competitive experience, base assault experiences littered throughout lots of different areas of the game, like, and I don't necessarily believe in a GVG either. But anyway, there's always people that think, oh, it's in the lore, so that settles the whole discussion, does it? Well, no, not really. Okay, so this is Fog's Fuel. As you pick up the object, a flood of sensations fills your mind. Subsiding guilt, diminishing fear, security, favour, swelling pride. See, so look, now that I've read the first one, I have a bit of context for this. I believe this now to be discussing Eparch's time safely with the wizards. Dominion consumes. Cumbrous. I don't even know what this word is. What's cumbrous, guys? The gifts of Mother and Midnight. Given rarely, given freely. High the cost. Dominion feeds. Insatiable. The unwitting, the unworthy, herded, reduced to despair, to terror, to fuel, to fog. See, in principle, I like this stuff when it's a supplement to a really great main course. You know, these are like the tantalizing appetizers and entrees and extra little bits, but when this is all I have to latch onto, I feel a bit weird about it all. Oh yeah. Alright, that actually made me laugh. I'm like in serious lore thought mode here. Oh no! Oh no! Oh shit! Oh no, it's okay, we can do it. That almost was, I thought we couldn't press F again. Yeah, but no, this is a novel, this is a romance from Snuggle, so I'm like in serious lore mode, and then I read, you're so hard, and I'm like, oh god, that sounds a bit salacious. And then I'm like, what is this about? And then I realised, oh no, it literally is. Well, he's probably not talking about his erection, let's see. You're so hard. Crag Blastball said. Oh, mind you, he's a char probably, right? Crag Blastball? Sounds like a char name. Is this granite? You know I'd forget it. I thought we're gonna talk before taking the ride together. His hand traced the cool and unusually smooth stone surface of his mate's skin. So it's his skin, but is it erectile skin? If it could even be called that anymore. Clasping one of his partner's rocky hands in his own. There you go. Their eyes met. I know, the other one said, seemingly lightless, eyes shadowed by the flickering light of the house hearth. The call, it came upon me. It pulled and whispered deeply into my soul until I could not but give in. Sorry, I'm reading this terribly. Beryl, I'm still yours. Oh, by the way, I don't know whether these are actual NPCs somewhere. Blastbore. Isn't there a place called like the Blast Bane or something? Light Water, Dragon Watch, the Foul Blade. I don't know. But if we really dig in and we look at the POIs. I'm still yours, always will be. Oh no, they're dwarves. They're not Shard, they're dwarves. That's why we're talking about their hard, rocky skin. I really thought it was just there's no fur on the underside of their hands, and I don't know, they're callous or something. No, we're talking about dwarves. Okay, crag blast bore. Yeah, I guess powder kegs or something. They're talking about granite. Oh, and then they talked about the rite. They're talking about the rite of the Great Dwarf. Here, I assume this was some kind of romantic char rite or something we were just now learning about. Okay, we're talking about the dwarves. So it's dwarven romance. I guess this makes sense because Snargle's probably written a lot of fiction about char already. So why is this in Eparch's cathedral? I guess because the dwarves are an ancient race as well, so he sort of gets them a bit. It came upon me, it pulled me and whispered deeply into my soul until I could not but give in. Oh, is this like a sad story? Is this like a... This is actually kind of a cool story if it's about, you know, estranged love. Because one person has undertaken the rite and the other hasn't. I'm still yours, always will be, but there's someone else. Oh no, it's... The Great Dwarf is a big... Oh, I'm sure he's very big. Is a bigger part of me now. It will soon be a part of you. Beryl Sootstone replied, giving his fleshy partner's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. Moments of silence passed between the two before Crag found the stones to speak again. Nice little wordplay there. A cheeky grin spreading across his rosy face. Do you think you can still, you know? Does a Doliac regrow its horns? Come here, you. Beryl laughed. The two toppled onto their bed with a cracking sound. The wooden frame protested under the stony Beryl's mass, both dwarves cackling as Crag planted a single kiss on his partner's statuesque cheek. Tell the Great Dwarf he can have me then, Crag whispered, forehead to forehead. Anyone be lucky to have you, love, Beryl replied, beaming. On a more raucous night, any passerby would have seen the haunting blue shimmer from inside and heard the distant chants of dwarves past, but the pair slept, unaware, unbothered. Wait, I've lost the plot here. What are we talking about here? In the stale and musky air of the next morning, as the final embers of the hearth were breathing their last, the elemental heat of the dwarven home received a bellow of wind, reviving the old flame. Rising from their collapsed bed, two stone dwarves grumbled and grouched before meeting the frigid shiver-peaked morning, warm without the fire, wrapped in the love of the Great Dwarf. Oh, so they kind of underwent the rite together. And is this paragraph I don't understand suggesting it's quiet because people are undergoing it? Or I'm missing a piece there. Just being stupid. A small note is seen in the margin for book club discussion. While I'd left my home before the first rite began, I'd since learned that the Delgemore transmuted into stone during ceremonies held by the high priests, usually in groups to save time. They would not have been sleeping in their homes or stark naked, as captivating as that may be. This is cool. So hold on, is this Lahir that's written this? I think that Eparch was in a book club with Lahir when he was with the Wizard's Court. And they read... Oh wait, well, how does the timeline work? When did Eparch get kicked out? Was it post-Rite of the Great Dwarf? I think he took this with him, if the timeline works out. And that note was written by Lahir. That's my guess there. Okay, and then we get another one over here. As you pick up the object, a flood of sensations fills your mind. Fangs bared, growling anger, stifling fear, looming shadows. Fight or be still. No fight. Still be still. Forever still. Fight and be before still. Bosh. Already still. Until still. King's feed. Spitting in shadow. Spire's shadow. Death door. Grink has no fight. Fight here. Fight and be here, Grink. No fight and be still there, Grink. Noise. Great fuss. Someone fights. Grink growls. Grink knows. Great ears. Kind stranger. Ferocious stranger. I'm free. We run. Run, Grink. Run, Grey. Away. We run. We is me. Where is Grink? Where is Grey? Are they still? Will they be? First run. Later more. I don't know. I don't have a lit degree, guys. Do I need one? I mean, it's got a nice sort of rhythm. What's the word? Pentantum? I don't know. It feels... Who is this, though? This feels kind of script-like, I guess. Friend still. Who the fuck is Grink? Who is Grink? Who is Grey? Are they still? Will they be? First run. Later more. They're in some kind of disaster. Something's attacking them with fangs bared. There's a kind stranger that helps them. They're a dangerous stranger. Someone fights. Grink growls, Grink knows. Kind stranger. So someone powerful has saved him and freed him from his bonds. Away we run. They run away, but they've lost their friends, Grink and Grey. First run later on, but they died in the tussle. Who is Grink and who is... What do you guys think? Sangria, thank you so much for the donation, first of all. I will endeavour to... Anybody who does a super chat like that, please, I will try my best to respond. Thank you very much for that. What up, WP? Been catching up on some videos of yours from over a year or so ago. Did that Pokemon review ever come to fruition in any way? No, I have... It's just the most ridiculous Google Doc filled with info about it. I was actually thinking about it the other day because this is I'm going to give you guys a bummer of the story now. You guys might already guess what it is. The voice actress for the original Misty and the original Jessie. Now, if you guys know that show, you'll know that around 2003, the 4Kids dub basically got the sack, and the Pokemon company started doing their own localization for the show, and they basically kicked all the old voice actors out around 2003. So there's a really jarring moment in the Battle Frontier saga after Hoenn, where suddenly all their voices change in the English version, and it's really difficult to get over. The show these days is like over it. If we talk about the Ash saga, which is now over as well, the vast majority of that saga, it's so long, it's like over 1,000 episodes. In truth, the original Misty and the original Jessie isn't even in it that much. But she's like, for a lot of people my age, that was Misty, and that was Jessie, and that was, you know, the show as we knew it. Anyway, she got that gig in the late 90s. She was only 20, guys. She was only 20 when she got the gig. So she is 46 at the moment. She's not old at all. Very young person. She just died, unfortunately. She had some kind of cancer, and she couldn't pay for treatment, basically. She did a GoFundMe or a Patreon campaign or something. I can't remember what website it was. But basically, she had to, you know, beg for money for her treatment. I think there was some kind of post where she said that she thinks she got enough and they'd managed to find someone or do something. It was about 2 months ago. But she died. She passed away, like this week. I got that news this week. I got that news. Me personally. No, I mean, I saw it on Reddit. So yeah, it's devastating. It's horrifying. I was like, what the fuck? I can't believe. So Misty's gone. So yeah, I was thinking about my series. The thing with that show is, well, it's not even a show. It's a bunch of scripts. The whole thing is written. Analyzing the media. Okay, it's not really about the show. It's a media analysis, and it's about Pokemon as a Sisyphean piece. Okay, so it's this story that doesn't have an end. Ash struggles to become a Pokemon master, but he is doomed to never get it. Yet it is the journey we enjoy. We must imagine that Sisyphus is smiling. That's kind of that's what the media analysis is for the whole thing. And I was captivated by it. And then of course last year Ash's story ended, and Ash, you know, Sisyphus got the boulder to the top of the hill. So it kind of undermines the entire sort of angle I was doing the whole way through it. And I don't know what to do about that. I mean, realistically, what I could do is just cap on a bit at the end now and say, well, no, look, in retrospect, here you go, this is how it ended and stuff. But it's going to need like rewrites the whole way through, and the odds of me actually putting content up like that was already a long shot, guys. I mean, look at me. Look, I have loads of really good Let's Play content ready to go, and even that I'm nervous and fucking anxiety ridden about putting up online. Even that I feel odd about. Oh, we finished a weekly here. Even that I feel bad about. So, you know, something that's that out of field, I don't know. I had a lot of fun writing it, and maybe I'll do it at some point. I was also thinking about it as well, because I did a big 90s Trek rerun a couple of weeks ago. And as I was watching each episode, I was like, you know what, I could just take cliff notes of what I think about this episode here and there. Because I read a lot of Trek opinions that I think are shit. Sorry, this is me being very boisterous and angsty here, but I read a lot of stuff online that's just nonsense. And I think, anyway, I think there's some interesting insights. So I was thinking, oh, I could do that as well, but, like, I constantly keep thinking about the Pokemon review and, like, how much time I put into it, and then nothing came out of it. So, I don't know, I have the notes there. There's also the thing where it's been like a year now, and I'm starting to worry that the things I thought about the show then are not true to me today, which is also a minefield as well. I mean, what am I going to do? Pick through my review, do a review of my review and curate everything with a whole new lens? So, you know. Anyway, as you pick up the object, a flood of sensations fills your mind. Exhaustion, wariness, apprehension, awe, swelling pride. We wait, prostrate. All eyes on an August face. Our lives hanging on a spider's silk. Throne of midnight. Bone and stone, seat of the Midnight King, now melded, essence and sinew, by King's order augmented, by our claws reshaped, power, strength, symbolic, corporeal, prostrate we wait, eyes unmoving, he lowers himself, will silken thread hold, a smirk nigh imperceptible, relief, pride, life, power, strength, seat, title, throne of midnight, seat of the Midnight King. Okay, this is actually one of the more... Oh, we got another page. An admonishment, louder. Throne of Midnight, seat of the Midnight King. This one seems even vague as well, but actually I think I get it now on my playthrough right now. As we saw in the previous episode, one of Eparch's forms is a giant spider, and it's actually amazing. So here they're talking about silk and thread and stuff. Wait, is it a spoiler? I guess it's a spoiler. Okay, but if you guys have played this patch, what happened to Eparch's army? Where is his army right now? I think this is a member of the army. They're a soldier, they're waiting. And then I'm just going to focus on this. Now melded, essence and sinew. By King's order augmented. By our claws reshaped. I think it's pretty clear what this is. So... and we'll get to it in a second. Okay, next book. A flood of sensations fill my mind. Ancient stone, fresh essence, hunger, fierce beauty, unbreakable will. Mother of Naos, a chalice, claw wrapped. With time it brims, she is all divine her voice, a future and vision forever she sips in their minds, divinity speaks, dedicated to many, selfless in devotion, in offering, in sacrifice. Chalice past, aroma heady, no more is time, indomitable with few, many with few, undying with few, undying in death. And then cold tension, grinding of fangs, sour anguish, movement stilled, shouts, murmurs, silence. The general, back turned, with him countless, against him more. Edge of Zakiros, Maedra, a step, a chasm, a nexus, a step. Will he take it? Will they allow it? He steps, a queenly snarl, a kingly sneer, but no more. Another disquiet avoided. For now, the general, his house, his people, exile. For now we step. Not sure on that one either. Alright, so there you go. So I think that's all the books. I think I did this room and realised I was missing one and it had been in the previous chamber and you can't teleport back. So, also, when I first played this, I hadn't done the meta yet. And I was quite fascinated by all these environments. I thought this was all very cool. But obviously this all appears in the meta as well. That's an interesting ground tell. And it looks fuck ugly once it actually lands. That's clearly just like a repurposed Tempest. I should just say Ellie War on Fire. Back to chat. If anyone's got any questions, it looks like there's some kind of an argument maybe going on, but it's too much to read. Maybe I'll look back at the VOD later. But yeah, so that's kind of what is going on with the Pokemon thing. I would like to post it one day. I'd love to be at a point where this channel just does mixed media stuff. And on that note as well, there is obviously the Tomb Raider Netflix anime coming out very soon. And I think that might be an interesting stepping stone, because that is a union of the gaming stuff that I've covered before, and you know, a TV series of some kind. I have often thought about like how I would format it, you know, because there's lots of ways you could actually produce a series like that. Like they'd essentially be podcasts. I know that. But for visuals, how would I want to do it? And I'm thinking screenshots of the episodes. When you look at like over 1,000 episodes of Pokemon, or you know, and all the 90s Trek's very long as well, it would be a lot of screen grabs. So I don't think it would be explicitly relevant footage on screen all the time. I think I'd find some kind of like generic mechanism for grabbing a few screenshots of each episode, and then they just sort of filter through slideshow style or something. I don't know where I sit with that, you know. Because there was a thing for me for years where I really stressed out about like, oh, is there good enough visuals for the videos? I didn't really realise that a lot of it doesn't matter. You know, I'm not offended if people are tapped out and just listening. I mean, 90% of this content is just the listening, isn't it? I mean, there's no face camera or anything. The game is a touch loud. Okay, I can deal with that. I'm glad you said a touch. Audio's a big thing going on with the FF14 series. See, that one's funny because you can mod the fuck out of the game. You can do so much stuff. You're not supposed to talk about the fact that you can mod the game. So I can't have like any super overt mods there. But you can do a lot of stuff. And audio is really interesting. And I'm actually thinking of making it's very easy to do for what it's worth. It's not a very big time thing. I'm thinking of doing a couple of like slight audio tweaks. I've already done a few. But getting the sound just right, because the music is such a huge part of that game and all that, and making sure, you know, I'm thinking of putting a bit of ducking on there and stuff. Speaking of mods, that's another thing. These past few weeks, that's been going on big time with me. I've mentioned it in almost every single one of these Secrets of the Obscure videos.
The heart of the obscure.
I have been modding Stellaris still. Basically, here's what happened, guys. Okay, after I finished a batch of Let's Playing earlier in the year, I said to myself, okay, look, you've got a space here where you can immediately kick up another LP, or you can work on the Stellaris project. So, long term, I want to make a couple of mods for Stellaris so that when I do my next LP on that, it's really cool, basically. Remember the last one I did, I had all the Guild Wars 2 races on there. But this next one's a bit more extensive than that. So I did a batch of LPing earlier in the year, and I said to myself, okay, well, you know what? I want to do some Stellaris stuff. I want to catch up with this. So I gave myself 3 to 4 weeks of modding. I said, after that, you've got to get back to some other stuff. It's ended up like 8 to 11 weeks. Like, it's literally like a Let's Play's worth of modding that I've done. I've released 4 over the past month or so, and the 5th one I thought was going to take 1 week to make. The 5th is the final one, and I've basically been saying to myself for weeks now, fucking stop this, you got to stop. But it's one of those things where if you're in the middle of a huge amount of code, if you drop it for like a year, that's it, you're fucked. You're not going to be able to remember where you were or how it was, or the enthusiasm's going to be all wrong. Like, I have to finish it. But it is the most tedious mod. And I'm just slowly like mostly I'm playing and sorting out Final Fantasy XIV stuff, and then occasionally tabbing back into VS Code, trying to slowly grind through like a billion parameters I need to input for some weapons. Anyway, yeah, I've released like 4. I'm actually going to do a vlog about them as well. I don't know whether I'll put it on WP1 or WP2. I'd love it to be on WP1. I think it'd be so cool. In fact, during the Janthir Wilds stuff, I think I'll do it. Because I did do, I think, some pretty, I'm going to be very, very boastful and arrogant here, and in a sincere way. You know, I'm often boisterous and fucking around. But I seriously think I did a really good job with 2 things that I made. I'm extremely proud of them, and they were really difficult to do. And they're unlike any other mod that's ever existed on the workshop. They're very cool. And they've had a lot of accolades. And do you remember in one of these videos I said I feel like I've been cheating on you guys because you release a mod and you watch the subscribers go up? And it's like, oh, that should be a video, and watching the video subscribers go up. You know, I've kind of had that again. Like, I've had some very, very good releases, and I'm really proud of what I've done. I basically hit all my goals and stretch goals with it, but because I gave myself far more time than I really should have. But yeah, I'm going to do a vlog about it, and I think it'll be really interesting. But yeah, this last one, I want it done. What I've wanted is to have it finished so that then I can focus wholly on Guild Wars. But it seems I'm going to have to juggle the 2, which sort of sucks. But hey, we'll be streaming every other day, so I think So big revelation here. Here we go.
No.
Labrys's words. The strength to do that which the common Kryptis will not.
There is no army.
There never was.
Countless innocents. First the battle below, now this. He has methodically weakened us while strengthening himself.
There is no depravity to
See, the thing
which
is this that much of a
he will
twist?
not stoop.
Demons eat demons. We sort of
I
knew this.
failed them. They should have been under our protection.
There's something very broken about this
They
story.
would rest in honor under the Tree of Mourning if time allowed. Destroy them. Then at least they can never be consumed.
Here we have a tree again.
Wait.
Blighting tree.
Wayfinder. Can your heart of the obscure set free their essence peacefully? They deserve that much, at least.
This is important,
Yes,
I think.
they do.
It's kind of cool to be a necro here. Yeah, the fact that the Heart of the Obscure is still this crazy OP relic that can do all this cool stuff and is being referenced right at the end. Remember, the whole expansion is named after this relic, so I think that that's a good little beat that they've done here. But yeah, there's something very broken about this, that we get whisked away to another realm filled with demons, and we're being asked to empathize with them being consumed. I don't know, I'm just not on board with any of the emotions that are being asked of me here.
Dream.
I think that this realm needed to be treated high energy, adrenaline packed. This needed it metal. It needed to be badass and interesting and action oriented, and it needed to be glimpses in here while most of the story was still being told topside. I think taking players here and asking us to believe in little vindicated, worried, upset, meek demons is lame.
Soon you will dream. We will see to it.
I use that word all the time with Guild Wars storytelling, but that's honestly how I feel. I don't know whether I need to expand my vocabulary or what, but so many of their ideas are lame. They're just so impotent and feeble and boring and uninteresting and just weak. It's lame. It's not entertaining to me. But here we go. Pretty demons. Let's light the candles. And maybe that's my ignorance and my blinders and my, you know, oh, you should be more willing to believe in the demons as victims, WP. Well, I don't think they really put the groundwork in for me to be in that place emotionally, you know. I think we need longer campaigns for stories like that. Maybe it's just another example of biting off more than they can chew.
Bring your army then, he said. I will devour everything.
To the throne room. We are all that stands between Eparch and our extinction.
Alright, here we go. So we continue to ascend the spiral. I mean, I love all the place names and stuff. And I don't think it's just a Secrets of the Obscure thing. I've felt this way for quite a long time. Jesus, it's oddly quiet. Have I got combat music disabled or something? Or is this just that they're... It's just to feed the emotion? I think this is just... We're feeling emotional right now, guys. Okay. Yeah, dynamic combat music is not muted. 7 is overrated just because it was people's first FF. Yeah, there's always that bias where you start. 6 as well. Obviously, you guys haven't seen the LP finish yet, but I finished 6 a while ago now. 6 is not, you know, mechanically and stuff, it's all over the place and whatever. But I think that there's a generation about half a click above mine where 6 was their first.
I feel something amiss.
And it's just the same thing. For me, you know, I started with 10 and I have the deep love for that one and feel like that one did everything perfect. You know, I think that happens with all of gaming to an extent. Your first MMO will define a lot of what you expect of MMOs, for example. What you think they can and should do.
Are you prepared to face the king?
That throne is mine.
Well, maybe not actually. My first MMO was RuneScape.
Open the way for the true Midnight King.
And I don't necessarily believe that the genre needs to go in that direction. Oh, there was a memory over there. Maybe I should press that. Alright, apparently the Eye of Janthir is right here.
Waiting, princess of traitors.
In this cutscene, apparently. Let's keep our eye out.
While we cut our way through your defenses.
Somewhere, maybe?
Bold strategy, King. Was the Queen your strategist? Perhaps without Labrys.
Do not speak her name. Kneel. Sacrifice yourself to me, as you forced your queen to do.
But I am not so noble.
Labrys was right to refuse negotiations with you. You will kneel, or my generals will make you kneel. Your strength is mine, and my strength is the lifeblood of the Kryptis. Speak your last words.
We'll throw your bones from Eventide's bridge.
That's a cool line.
The Kryptis will spit on your memory. Labrys sacrificed herself for nothing.
What? General? Traitor? Who?
Eparch!
Thunderon! Alcaeus! General?
For Nios! To Pena!
Die!
We're just gonna wait for the combat chatter before we start talking. Okay, I could not see the Eye of Janthir. Was it already? Can I just point out that the expansion name and all that hadn't been announced yet, so this was like, I guess, one last big tease. It didn't really come across like that to me though when I read about it, because it felt like there'd already been a lot of references to the Massar and the Eye of Janthir and stuff already in the X-Pack. I just kind of chalked this up as another one on the list, you know. But yeah, apparently it's hidden here somewhere. And in theory, I really like this idea. It's very reminiscent of the end of Season 3 into POF, where the Eye of Janthir kind of led us into that expansion. And in a weird way, it's like the Eye of Janthir is leading us into this one as well. But yeah, it's a nice cutscene. I always like it when I put that extra effort into the cutscenes and take control of your camera and put the text down. It's I think the best one of those was at the start of the Icebridge Saga, where you saw Banger on the icy cliff marching off into the snowstorm at the end of episode 1, if you guys remember that moment. So there we go. So I basically just auto attacked there while ranting. Comes off of the throne. I can't believe they never put his spider form into this. So he creates these hexagons. Now, when I played this before, I did it multiplayer, and he just melted in an instant. I really didn't see any mechanics. I also, because I haven't done the fractal, I don't know whether these are the fractal mechanics. Oh, we were a bit late with the dodge there. Because in the fractal, don't you collect these orbs? Drops of regret. Decrease skill activation and recharge times, but take damage when using abilities. Oh, wow. Can I collect all the orbs, or just one type? Oh, okay. So Rage, 2% increase. You know what? The condies should appear on the top bar for the UI. So this weird tooltip issue doesn't. Gain 2% increase incoming and outgoing attack damage. Well, this one doesn't have a drawback. So that's Regret and Rage. Oh, and that's all of them. I wonder how many stacks we can get. I believe there's like a lifesteal one, and I've seen a strat in the fractal where you can just bomb out billions of lifesteal. So we essentially have a sort of quickness. Oh my god, I saw my shroud getting chunked as I autoed there. I think I'm taking a lot of damage. Oh, okay. Well, if I had any shroud, I would. Oh my lord. I don't have any more dashes or anything. Am I supposed to fall into this? Alright, I think we have to fall into this. Am I actually dying? Okay, well, I'm dead. We made it! Oh! This feels like a hard crash. Oh no, it's not.
Cannot
Do you know what? Secrets of the Obscure does that. In the meta at the end of Amnitas, there's that weird frame lock, right? When you teleport.
Your people by consuming them all? Still clinging to your antiquated ideals, wizard? Our enemies have never understood what it takes for my people to survive.
Oh, this is a good bit of the story. This is my favorite bit of the story.
That is why you will die today. Wyteria will be mine tomorrow. Your gluttony has given you strength beyond mine. That much is clear. Come to beg for your life, then. A pointless gesture, but I welcome it. On the contrary, I couldn't pass up this chance to help end yours. Aether, Wayfinder, join your power with mine. The heart.
I'm not sure about the voice acting too much, but this is amazing. Okay, so we talk. Can I just chill until? I assume I'm not on a time limit here. Yeah, Isgarin. So in the previous part, we talked a lot about how Isgarin is really cool in this patch. I love this. Basically, he does come to help, and it feels really nice to finally have him on screen again. He is by far my favorite character this expansion, but it's not even close. It's like, if he's a 10 out of 10, the next closest person is like a 4 out of 10. He is a really, he's so self-interested and cunning, but he's kind of a good guy. I love him. He's amazing. He's really well written for me. I have a lot of fun with him. And so here he is doing his thing where he'll come, but only at the last second when victory was all but otherwise assured, and he didn't really have to risk anything, which is kind of nasty, but is very realistic, I think, actually, and one of the more intelligent characters out there that I really sort of relate to. So I love Isgarin. I think he's brilliant. Like, they go on and on about how he's cold and mean and stuff, but no, he's just a pragmatist. He's the ultimate pragmatist. And that makes him distant, I think, but he's awesome. So yeah, anyway, he's here to save the day. And also, it's been so long since we've seen him or other people from upstairs. So yeah, also someone in chat saying the game looks really crisp. I think I'm streaming 1440p 60 FPS to you, and that's it. I'm seeing more frames myself, but 1440 60, and I think it does look good. I love the YouTube streaming. And by the way, when we are, so Janthir Wilds is going to be the same. It will be here on YouTube. But when we get to 14, immediately on the back of it, I'm seriously looking into dual streaming. I'd like to do it on Twitch, but I don't want to give up the quality and the VODs here on YouTube. So that is the current plan. That'll be a dual stream thing. I'll have to ensure that I've got a stable enough internet connection stuff. And there's some amazing new features on OBS, by the way. If you guys in the Spud Discord saw, I posted about this in the WP Help channel the other day. Oh my god, some of the new stuff that OBS can do is awesome. They've basically found a way to, if you guys, do I explain the intricacies of MP4 files? Basically, they found a way to make MP4 files recoverable, just like MKV. And you can embed chapter data directly into the video and audio streams while recording, which is just so good for Let's Playing. Like, serious. It means that I don't have to have anxiety or stress when I'm like 3 hours into an episode or something, because even if I get a power cut or a crash or something, I can just recover it. Not to mention the chapters, which can help. Oh, it's going to be nice. So anyway, there's all that progress. I want to see whether there's some other new things going on with streaming. I seem to remember this whole thing of like dual streaming has been a conversation for at least a year, and I seem to remember maybe around Christmas, a bit before Christmas, didn't Twitch shit the bed with ad revenue for people or something? I think something happened, or wasn't it? There was a change in policy, wasn't it? I think that was what it was. I think both happened around the same time. But I think Twitch changed their policy, meaning you're allowed to do dual streams now. Was that it? Anyway, I'm sure there's some new tools and technology and things. If you guys have got any thoughts on any of that, let me know over the coming days, because that will be a massive help. Anyway, here we go. Channel the Heart of the Obscure. Just as Isgarin seems to have one. And Paith is doing her demon thing over there. 700 damage! I like how my life still ticks are huge. Oh, there we go.
Kill this parasite!
Alright, let's do it. Oh. It was very hard to tell what the timing on that dodge was going to be there. Just kind of winged it. Should we collect some more orbs? I don't know whether they decay. I suppose as long as I get enough... Oh my god. As long as I get enough life force to pop my shroud back, the taking damage on skill usage doesn't matter that much. Via life force shroud, you have massive resustain on a necro. As long as you're generating enough shroud. People don't really like to talk about it that way. They like to say that you're tanky with very little resustain, but it's not necessarily true. It changes on respec as well. Harbinger and Scourge are a bit different. Okay, strike with the heart again. Yeah, leaving Shroud cancel cast it. We're gonna do it again. You might want to dual stream Janthir as well and farm the drop viewers. I really don't care about that. It might be interesting as a sort of testing ground though, yeah. You really hope that they can bring back dungeons in some way? What, in this game? Well, I mean, that's a funny one. I'll say it again. Dungeon is more of just like a brand. The game has dungeons. It has low-scale, party-based, linear, instance content. Okay, that's what we mean when we talk about a dungeon. And it has that. It's fractals. If they just renamed fractals to dungeons, you wouldn't have anybody asking. They'd just say, oh, Guild Wars' flavor of dungeons is this thing where, you know, you do 3 a day and they sometimes augment with instabilities. It's just a brand. And it's a trivial thing for them to do, to rebrand fractals. And I think they should do it. I think they should integrate the existing dungeons into fractals and just call them all fractals. In fact, if you look at the early press releases about fractals, they were always calling them fractal dungeons. Believe it or not, during Season 1. I don't see anything fundamentally different about it. I mean, you can maybe dig into the nitty-gritty difference between Guild Wars 1, Guild Wars 2 launch dungeons and fractals. Fractals are more bite-sized. Possibly. I don't know. Maybe that's not even true. I mean, today's experience doing a single explorable path probably is about the same length as a fractal. But people aren't thinking of that. They're thinking about their 2012, 2013 dungeon experiences where it was probably a little bit longer. So maybe there's a slight length difference. But, you know, you can't even argue, like, for theme. Like, what Caudicus's Manor isn't a dungeon on any level, really, thematically. But it was within that mechanical archetype. Just like a bunch of fractals don't technically look like dungeons, but, you know. Let's clear these guys up. Press F again. As you can see, it's not very riveting gameplay, even solo. Not that I expected it to be. At least he's got some tankiness, I guess. Get the 5 before we lose the shroud. Oh, you evaded it, it seems. Yeah, I was quite tempted, by the way, about 20 minutes before I started the stream, to play another character so you could see some other new weapons. But it would have required playing the whole story up to this point again.
Your brothers understood. Labrys understood. Kryptis, wanderer. All our kind are despised. For that which is our nature. We are predators. We must feed. If we do not prey, we court extinction. I see now.
Oh, this is where the eye is?
Nothing will stop you from taking the Midnight Throne. Take it, but do not forsake your people. All we have labored for. Take my strength. Consume me for the Kryptis.
Did I miss it?
It was never your strength to kill.
Well, within a demon context, sure it was. I think I missed it. I was looking at chat, and immediately someone said, "Look up for the eye," and I started looking up, but I think it was too late already. Well, I assume because people were talking about it, it was at least on screen. So if I go back and rewatch this VOD, I'll see it, will I? Above the throne. Or high? How high above? I was expecting it to be like there. But I feel like I was looking about there, and then someone said, up, up, up. It's small and blends into the background. Is it gone already? Just to be clear, I mean, someone give me a sense of the timing here. Is it gone or is it... A community member's just released a soundtrack of Janthir Wilds with ArenaNet's permission. It sounds really good. That's bizarre. They've given... What? Just a random member of the community? Well, good for them, I guess. Is it good? It's there right now, to the right. Oh, I see it, yeah. How the fuck is that above the throne? That's not above the... Did it move? Was it above the throne and then it moved? Oh my god, that is cool. Wow. I probably would have shat myself if I saw that on my first playthrough. Well, maybe not, because actually it's... I can't really see the eye part of it, so to be honest, guys... Well, I'm not disputing that there is an eye... There probably is an eye bit there, I just can't get a clear shot of it in-game. So what I probably would have thought is it was just some asset reuse. I'm not joking. Such is my... the depths of my cynicism at this point. But no, that's definitely the Eye of Janthir. That is cool. So it's watching us. The thing is, I swear to God, at the end of Season 3, they gave the impression that thing was destroyed, didn't they? Remember, that was the era of closing as many doors as possible. They threw the real Lazarus in to kill him off. And I swear there was some line about, oh, the eye is done now, farewell. Didn't it give us a vision of POF and then break? Why do I remember? Or they definitely made it was like, now, I think there was a line from Livia. She was like, now that the Massat are all gone, this thing is going to go as well. I'm sure she said something like that. And I guess now what? We just chalk up to her being wrong. Speaking of Livia, we get to speak to her in a second. We're getting into the epilogue now. So here we go. So Patreon is Garen. Eparch is dead.
So it ends. And so the rain...
Oh, can I... Oh, I shouldn't have
You
walked it.
certainly took your time.
I am here now, when it matters. When your survival was all but assured, only then did you stick your neck out for our people. I risked nothing for your people. I risked exposure to rid our worlds of Eparch. And while I hope it proves worthwhile, the survival of the Kryptis people was not a requirement. Let's see that we do not stand on opposite sides of the battlefield one day, Seer.
General, gather the wounded. Iskaran, we are in your debt. I need time to set my house in order. I will contact you then.
Until then, Majesty.
It's time to go home. Wayfinder?
Patha.
Nyos owes a great deal to you, Wayfinder.
Wayfinder.
I expect we'll see you in the Wizard's Tower soon. You're always welcome here, friend.
Your legend will walk our dreams for eternity. As will yours, Outrider.
Thank you, Ramses.
In the tower, then.
The Wizard's Tower will be ready to receive the Midnight King.
Oh yeah, they do this gender thing. She's not the queen, she's the king. Which is quite a badass title, I think, actually. So, Does it leave now? It'd be cool if when she walks up there, she sees it and it like disintegrates at that point. Yeah, so look, one of my points of it's very hard for me to analyze at this point what doesn't satisfy me about the Guild Wars story and all that kind of stuff. One thing I can say though is, let's not forget, right, the launch of this expansion established the wizards, hooked it into some old lore, the tower near Ascalon. Whoa. The Lady of Cinders. Oh, these are the new courtiers, I suppose. Fairly well integrated it into the Guild Wars lore, but also... Oh, there you go, the eye left now. Fairly well integrated into the Guild Wars lore, but also basically said, here's a bunch of new shit. Guess what? The Elder Dragon story was going on. You thought that was the be-all and end-all. Actually, it's not the be-all and end-all. And so here's the thing that dissatisfies me. What this expansion came along and said was, the wizards didn't help with the Elder Dragon situation, which in itself is pretty high stakes, thousands of years, endless cycles, blah, 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 blah. They turned it into the creation of the goddamn universe with the Suwon stuff in End of Dragons, which was another huge misstep to me. So it's a big story, the Elder Dragon story. It took many, many real-life years to finish. This expansion comes out and they say, oh, no, this wizard society of superheroes decided not to help with any of that because there was something more important, and that was this. And it feels very unsatisfying to be told that, and then at this scope, waltz on into this Citadel, kill the king, and it's done now. Whee! Like, it feels really... Do you know what I mean? Like, there's something fundamentally off about that entire proposition for what this expansion story was going to be, and I don't know. I'm not really vibing with it. This is quite cool. So many of them coming in here. And obviously as well, there's this thing of like, is it really solved just because we beat up one guy? Can we really trust Pather? So this is the other big thing. Just about the only tension and intrigue throughout this playlist. You go back, you watch this stream series. What we're constantly talking about is, okay, if we usurp the Midnight King, if we get rid of Eparch, we put Pather in his place. Is she any better? Why should she be any better? She is a demon. She is born from this realm. She does embody the philosophies and the lifestyle that created her here, right? Why should we trade one despot for another, you know? I'm talking about Tom Hanks in Charlie Wilson's War. You know, there are long-reaching effects to tampering with the geopolitical situation in other countries, or, as it were, other realms and dimensions. Like, who knows what the fallout from this is? So, can we trust her? Is there anything interesting that comes from all of this? You'd really hope that that tension continues, or it turns out she was trying to betray us, and there's some great drama out of that. None of that happens. It's just, there you go, Pather's in charge now, and that's somehow preferable. And we will get, like, the most Saturday morning cartoon surface-level analysis of any of this. You'll see. They'll be like, oh, yeah, we'll collaborate. Yay! And it's just like, I don't know whether, look, please don't interpret this as I'm saying Guild Wars is terrible, blah, 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 blah. I just think at this point, you know, I'm in my 30s now. These aren't the stories that particularly captivate me. I think I'm slipping out of the demo, is what I think I'm saying. Like, there's not enough there anymore, you know. But so let's see. They do their best. So let's see. The king's subjects come to pay respect to the Midnight King, attempting to keep what status they had with Eparch, no doubt. Already, look around. There are many eyes in Zakharos. When your continued existence depends on reacting to a tyrant's whims, information is lifeblood. Will they fall in line? In the short term, yes. I mean, how does he know this if Eparch's been the de facto big bad guy for so many years? She's just demonstrated that she has the strength to overthrow the most powerful Kryptis in the history of nerds. I guess because at smaller scales, this is how things work. Some will test her, undoubtedly. I imagine her diplomatic skills will be tested, and our military strategy if that fails. Will we see you in the Wizard's Tower? It seems likely, but that's up to Her Majesty. If not, it's been an honor where you find her. We get another general here. Kryptis General is oblivious to your presence and seemingly everything else going on around him. Ramses, I must confess, much as I believe in Path's cause, I never allowed myself to consider the aftermath of her victory. Will you come to the tower? That's up to Lady, Her Majesty. I have a feeling we will meet again, but there's much more to do here first. Change can be difficult. Seems a good problem to have, no? And Path says, it's done, friend. Word travels swiftly. There are many eyes in Zakharos, yet the true work only just begins. There's much I must do before I see you in the Wizard's Tower. Were you tempted to consume Eparch after all? Tempted to cast away a chance and to end centuries of tyranny? To halt the loss of countless lives? To alter the fate of my people in exchange for power beyond comprehension? Perhaps, Wayfinder, perhaps. See, I think I needed more backstory from her about why she's different, why she goes against the grain. Perhaps don't mention that to Isgarin. If Isgarin truly questioned the strength of my convictions, I find it highly unlikely any of us would still live. He is quite touchy. I look forward to riling him for centuries to come. In the tower, then, Majesty. Alright, so the epilogue begins. So where are we on the stream here? We're nearly at the 2 hours already. My throat feels a little bit sore. This is huge, alright? ArenaNet really outdid themselves here. This is an excellent end because there's a lot of meat in this instance. In fact, this... Okay, so all you've seen in this stream is the last instance. Don't forget, this patch also had another instance and then all the adventures and stuff. On patch day, I would say I spent triple the time for the entire rest of the patch. The opening instance, the adventures, everything you just saw there was just a blip compared to the epilogue. The vast, vast, vast majority of my playtime was in the epilogue. It just kept on going. It's amazing that this character hasn't actually explored these places. So this is a big instance. I think, mercifully, some good amount of it is voice acted, so I don't have to speak through all of it. But I think a lot of it isn't voice acted. So we'll see what we see. And yeah, there are some good hooks into the next expansion releasing tomorrow. I mean, it's crazy that I can say it that way. Lonya says, a lot of that story felt like a teen cartoon story to me, but that isn't new. I felt that the game slowly went that way since a few years at least. Yeah, I mean, I felt that since Season 1, probably. It's not consistent, though. That's the thing. Season 1 definitely had a lot of that vibe, but the back part of Season 1 felt pretty good. Season 2 was actually excellently paced. I will stand by that. If you go back and... Obviously, on release, the patches felt short or whatever, what people weren't expecting and all that. But it's a really good adventure, Season 2. And it gives its information steadily, and it's got a lot of high intrigue and mystery with the orbs that snaps machine and stuff. Really like Season 2. Season 3's messy. Oh, but hold on, I'm just giving generic criticisms here. Whether it feels cartoony. I don't know, like the Icebrood Saga is the least cartoony it ever felt. I think the Icebrood Saga was excellent until Drizzlewood. And then Drizzlewood, it's something like we're back to normal. We're back to being cartoony again. It's like, Launch was really good. A bit primitive in its own ways or whatever, but really good. In terms of like vibe and cartooniness and so on. It really had that heft to it. Season 1 was not good. Season 2 still felt kind of cartoony, but settled into an okay place. Heart of Thorns was alright, but far too short, so again felt cartoony because it was too short. Season 3 was so unfocused, I don't even really know how to think about its vibe. No, it felt cartoony because it was. I think it all comes down to length, really, and how much is in the body of work. So, like when I think about, sorry, I'm trying to not speak for everyone, only myself here, but like when I think about the Crichton Civil War that got sort of shoehorned into that. And the Cordicus stuff. Yeah, it was cool to see the Queen erect the bubble around the place, and it was hear Cordicus's evil monologue and stuff. But really, it was just a bit of an evil monologue with a villain twirling his mustache because he wasn't on screen for long enough. There wasn't the whole season should have been on one of those topics, you know. POF was good. I think launch POF was very good, and I actually think a lot of Season 4 was very good as well. Joko was just too short. That was, but it was good. And I think Icebrood Saga, the start of the Icebrood Saga was excellent. It was actually the height in terms of like tone for me. I think they did really well with Bangar and all that. But then Drizzlewood was just like, oh yeah, let's do a whole fucking Char Civil War in one patch. Yeah, sorry, 2 patches. Sorry, there were 2 patches. Yeah, and let's assassinate the character of Smoder and all that. And then let's not even talk about Primordus and Jormag. It's been done. And then EOD, I don't know, man. Just the high-level ideas they had for EOD were just
Wayfinder,
awful.
not a moment too soon. They're about to get into it.
You're not joining us. You know the situation as well as anyone.
The detail work
Getting
in
into the
EOD
middle
was
of
excellent.
that group, I'd rather face down Eparch again. No. I think I'll leave that to you. I just wanted to catch a glimpse of it myself.
Don't tarry too long, soldier. You're overdue for some leave. Welcome home.
Wayfinder.
Okay. Goodbye, Arena. We hardly knew you, and I doubt we'll ever know you again. Should we take a little bet? Oh, I don't know, though. Oh, is Arena in Janthir Wilds? I mean, this is a fun question to ask, or is that it for now? You could have been so cool. You could have been like Cormier 2.0. Or 3.0, because Traherne is Cormier 2.0. As in a main character that's overly hated. But because she was so cool. Her arc is cool. But, yeah. Alright, look, there's Kryptis at the Wizard's Tower. Amazing. Who would have thought that? Icebeard Saga was kind of good. Finally, someone says it. It is heavily criticized for literally killing prophecies and the Dragon Saga at the end. Yeah, no, it's really good when they had time and they weren't rushing to end it, okay? Grothmar was great. Grothmar I have immense regret about my coverage of, because I remember feeling very unsatisfied by Grothmar, and there was more whingy, pissing, moaning, just like you're hearing on this stream, really. And I feel bad about that, because in retrospect, I think this was actually really good. And, you know, there's this thing, everyone always hates the new and loves the old and all that. And you could maybe be reductive about the way I talk about this product and say that it's the same for me. I do try to avoid that. I try to give real thoughts on these things. And Grothmar was, in retrospect, I think a really, really solid patch. And the 2 Biora patches were also really solid. I think this was all very good. And all the Eye of the North stuff is adjacent to that as well. Came out at the same time. It's just when we got here, it's this patch was so bad. I don't know what the hell happened. I really don't know what happened. And then this was clearly rushed. And at this point, they'd already been like, oh, this isn't working. We have to do an X-Pack. After this, it's just fucking, oh shit, we gotta drag stuff out now to get EOD out the door. I mean, so it's, I don't know. What more is there to say? So.
Wayfinder, good. Let's delay this no longer.
Let's take it load
No
off.
need to rush now. Galrath does so enjoy our presence here.
I've seen you lot in battle. Huh. We've got nothing to worry about.
What would you know of battle? You were not present for... Enough! We will not waste time with idle chatter. There is still much to be done in Niles.
Let us proceed then. Dagda, present the terms we've agreed upon.
The Kryptis incursion into Tyria will cease immediately. No Kryptis will enter Tyria again without direct invitation.
And any remaining loyalists who do, you're free to dispose of.
So this explains, you know.
Additionally, the Astral Ward will maintain a presence in Nios until such time as it is deemed by us to be unnecessary. In return, amnesty will be granted to the Kryptis, and we will recognize Paitha as the legitimate sovereign of Nios.
We accept your terms.
Perhaps now there can finally be peace.
We must hope so. If this were to happen again, I promise you that it would not end in negotiations.
Your thoughts, Wayfinder?
My thoughts that this is such a hand wave, it's unreal. Okay, just to, I want to respond to someone in chat. Someone said, but Drizzlewood was when they lost interest in the story. Drizzlewood had the other issue of it was the COVID patch with no voice acting. But I don't think that was really the cause. It was the other stuff that was going on there, really. Another story that was too big for a small story. You know, I'd been looking forward to Guild Wars 2 Cow, the Cogs of War, for years. I'd been looking forward to a full-blown expansion, really diving into this idea of the Char legions vying for control and all this. And then it just kind of got shoehorned in, and every time they do this, it's like they just destroy an element of the world that I was thirsty for. And then the way they handled the characters and stuff, and it was just terrible. Anyway, Oscuo in chat says the Icebrood Saga should have just been an actual expansion. Yeah, hindsight is 2020. That's the luxury I have in all these conversations with you guys. That's the luxury you have. We all get to sit here and say, should have done this, should have done this, should have done this, should have done this. But obviously the devs don't get that. That's the major difference. You know, they have to guess and go on their gut and think what might be good, and hopefully it will work out. And there are a billion parameters and issues and things that will come up along the way. And obviously with the Icebrood Saga, don't forget, they had just had a massive layoff. Like, they lost a third of the studio. Clearly they were planning for something else at the end of Season 4. Clearly. And it didn't work out. So they were just left, like, what the fuck do we do? Icebrood Saga was them scrambling to get something, anything going. Do you remember that original announcement? They had almost nothing to show. The Icebrood Saga, that patch I just complimented so much, is them on the balls of their feet. That's them working fast and quick and not overthinking it and getting stuff out and doing the best job they could. And they fucking nailed it. All this stuff was like in the heat of the moment, and it was high quality stuff. So yeah, you could say, oh, this should have been an expansion. There was no chance for it to be an expansion. This was always a band-aid for the gunshot wound that the studio had just, you know, undergone. And, you know, it would have been a terrible time for all of them. The whole thing, they probably don't look back on very... And it's... Which makes it even worse in years later, still banging on about it all, but there you go. So, you know, I think, yes, it would have been nice to have been an expansion, but it's not very productive to say. Anyway, back to this story. Okay, so, these two realms are at war. Not just any old war. Thousands of years of conflict. You know, look at how entrenched and hateful and difficult conversations are around current wars on Earth, alright? I won't put a point on exactly which conflict I'm thinking of there. But think about how difficult these things are. How much hatred brews between two peoples. How many crimes and difficult things there are to get over, right? This is two realities at war. For thousands of years. What have they been fighting over? What do they want? Let's resolve it. Here we go. The Astral Ward will maintain a presence in Nyos until such a time as it is deemed by us to be necessary. In return, amnesty will be granted to the Kryptis. So they're not going to get punished for their war crimes. And we recognize Paether as the legitimate sovereign of Nyos. We accept your terms. Perhaps now there can finally be peace. That's it? That's it? What? So hold on. So the whole issue. So what have we offered them? That Paether is a legit sovereign. Sorry, did we not accept Eparch as a legit sovereign? Was that what the whole conflict was? We didn't recognize him as a legit sovereign. And so obviously earlier she said, oh, we're not going to attack you anymore. That's it. What about the whole thing about the nature of demons and why Eparch felt the need to consume and why they were breaching the barriers, the reality? What about the supposed like history and beef that Eparch had with the Wizard's Court that began this conflict? We're just not going to talk about any of that. We're not even going to hint about that or circle around any of it. We're not going to say, oh my god, this whole conflict was because of Eparch's personal grudge against you and Eparch's gone now so there can be peace. We're not even going to list that. I just... Like, I can forgive... Okay, in terms of gameplay, right, we have limited screen time. Only a certain amount of content that the poor devs can crank out, getting with the whips cracked behind their backs. They've got a year to finish this story, alright? So they push out what they can, alright? So I understand and I can accept that in gameplay, it's gonna be mediocre. Ultimately, it's an RPG where you just fight the big bad and that somehow resolves things. That's not a Guild Wars 2 issue, that's an every RPG issue. Fight things and then somehow issues get resolved. You know, that's a part of the genre I can accept that. I can hand wave that. I can hand wave that it has to be lowest common denominator battle against Eparch as well, so he's going to feel unsatisfying to fight. I'm just going to auto-attack him a few times in the Citadel, and then there you go. There, he's dead, and the Eye of Janthir is watching. I can accept all of that, okay? But when we come to the story as well, just the actual script of the thing, when there's no sophistry there, there's nothing to latch onto. I really don't want this to just be, I'll just beat the big bad and there you go, it's over. But that's essentially what it comes down to here. So what do I get to say as the commander now? Sorry, the Wayfinder. This is a chance for peace and friendship. The Kryptis get just this one chance at redemption. Let's cherish this victory while we can. And I picked this middle one, which is at least the... I feel like there'd still be some teeth bearing at least going on here. So I feel like keeping a little bit of tension in the room was satisfying to me, so I'm going to say this one.
The Kryptis have been given a chance at redemption. They won't be given another. Do what you must to keep them in line.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
There is also
and at least
the
Gareth
other
is a voice for me.
matter
And
we
Garen is a
discussed,
voice for me.
Do you accept?
I do. Ramses will have a place here as long as
Oh wow, what a
he
compromise.
pleases.
My lady.
Your affection for Tyrians is no secret, Ramses. And you have more than earned a place as our ambassador.
Thank you, my king. I will not let you down.
That leaves just one final thing.
Wow, that's really good.
You, Wayfinder. While there are many who have fought alongside me, none have been more steadfast or capable.
I do want to thank you, Wayfinder. Your aid was clearly needed here.
I don't know if you guys have ever worked.
As long as
Hold on.
I live, your name will never be forgotten in Nyos. You have my eternal thanks.
I don't know if you guys have ever worked in an office, right? But I'm sure you've got memories of being in meetings that go on for ages and ages and ages, and you're just discussing like trivial shit that doesn't matter, right? Shit that could have been an email. I've had real life meetings about nothing that have lasted longer than this. That's the end of the war, guys. There you go. That's the treaty. That's the terms. It's over. Happy. I mean, what the fuck? You could have gone away to the toilet during that and missed the whole thing. This could have been an email. Oh, and then the credits. You really don't want the credits rolling over a low note. I get that it's the, it's like the standard to do a credit sequence at the end of the main thing and then at the end of the patch series. And maybe it's only a low note for me, but yeah. There you go. So the war's over. And now we get a lot of dialogue. Okay, so there was an achievement. I don't have it anymore. But there's like, look at all this. All these different people to talk to. And then there's like some extra stuff as well. I think some books maybe that you can interact with. So we'll just see who we can go through. I don't think it's all voice acted, but a few of them are. So you'll be stuck with my horrendous voice acting instead. BR Spy says, you know, man, I've never really known how to say your name. In hindsight, it's odd how much pageantry they had around the Icebreed Saga reveal. Maybe it was as proof of life overcompensating. No, I don't agree with that. I think there had to be a lot of pageantry with it because they had to prove to the community that there was still a game. Remember, the end of Season 4 ends like Guild Wars 2's over. Like, it's everybody flying off into the sunset, and there's a real, like, okay, this is the final chapter vibe. It's like, if they had done just a little bit more, they could have closed the whole game down. Which I'm sure was the plan, because they were going to go off into a mobile game or some terrible idea, I don't know, which ended up. Now, I don't want to make jokes about that stuff, because that's pretty brutal what happened to everyone with their jobs and stuff. But, you know, the game felt like it was ending. There was no expansion announcement. And it was like, well, what's going on? Like, people needed some pageantry. They needed it to be big and bold and so on. So, I don't think that that's odd. You gotta remember, like, it's easy to forget that all these releases are pushed out with... Well, you don't want to think of it this way, but it's like a fight, isn't it? It's like their backs against the wall. They've got to get funding. They've got to sell products. They've got to shift copies. They've got to get people to log in, to buy things from the gem store. Every release has to be doing something. So they've got to make it look big and exciting and cool. And then they just got to work really hard to live up to those expectations. And I think they did. They really did for the start of the Iceberg Saga. Even if twat old me didn't realise it back when Grothmar was new. Wayfinder, good to see you. I must admit I'm finding myself a bit overwhelmed. Really? How do you feel about being named ambassador?
How do you feel about being named ambassador?
It's difficult to know how to feel. Mere hours ago, I entered
that's what you meant by proof of life? Yeah, okay.
And now I'm going to stay here. It's exciting in its way, though. The smells and sensations, the lights and colors, the strange shapes of the creatures. I'm not sure I'll be much use as an ambassador, as distracted as I am. I wonder if Arena would be willing to lead me around.
Yeah, it's like he's the new Arena. He's like reverse Arena now. Oh, yeah, AX says if they actually have a fundamental need to consume living beings or their essence, doesn't this mean they're just going to go and eat other worlds instead, if they weren't already? That's a really great idea, and I think that if ArenaNet picked that up as the story thread, that would be very cool, because it's like we're now complicit in the atrocities they're committing on others, you know? Can we really ally with these people when they're doing stuff like that? And then maybe that's a cause for some real tension down the line. I think that would be a really, really great place to go with the story and maybe create a bit of meaning to this. Maybe it's okay if this peace treaty feels limp if the story's not over yet, you know? And the story isn't necessarily over yet because so much of this cast will be in Janthir Wilds, and there is this question of were the Massart living in Janthir before and what are they doing on the Isles and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm really hopeful for this X-Pack. I really am. I think there are some big, cool stories there. And I will credit Secrets of the Obscure. They did so good with like timeline and world building stuff, and making the history of Tyria concrete and opening new doors. So I am excited about all of that stuff. If this new expansion hits that, at least. Remember, the opener of Secrets of the Obscure wasn't bad. All right, we couldn't have done this without you.
We couldn't have done this without you.
I am humbled by your praise, Wayfinder, but I merely did what anyone should be willing to do for their homeland. Truthfully, I have been a small part of something greater. That is enough for me. But I am pleased that I've earned your respect, and I hope your friendship as well.
Of course, Ramses.
You know, it's the middle of the night, and it's getting so hot in this room, it's unreal. Alright, there you go. So that's Ramses. Frode. Let's hope the peace holds for a while, eh? Rest of my lifetime would be just fine. Ideally, the rest of Arenas too. Do you think that's possible? With the Kryptis, maybe. Throughout Tyria? Doubt it. Get the rest and relaxation? Well, you can. Good idea. I think I'll follow Arena's lead on that one. You should too. So here's Dagda. We've done it, Wayfinder. Paitha sits on the throne, for better or worse. See, a lot of this dialogue seems to still suggest there's a bit of tension. You must believe she's better than Eparch. If I didn't, I would have put my own life on the line to join you and Zodra in the battle as Zakiros, but nothing is certain, you know that as well as anyone. Yeah, I remember reading this on my first playthrough and thinking, what? And that's because they're referencing the meta there. Fair enough. I do believe we did the right thing. I believe in Paitha. The Kryptis are strange, yet not so different in many ways when they're not eating each other. Straightforward as always, Dagda. Is she straight? I didn't even really know that was a part of her character. Okay, Isgaran. I think he's got a lot of great stuff to say. Well, you've succeeded in your mission, another in your long list of accomplishments. Truly, you've been essential, Wayfinder. It seems Zodra and Mabon were right about you. Will you still try to keep the Astral Ward a secret is a good question. So, the, oh my god. The diegetic reason for this is that, well, I can't even remember. Why did they keep it a secret? Because they didn't want people banging on their door about the Elder Dragon threat? No, it's not that. Why did he keep this whole place a secret? Too much knowledge? and he's guarded about it. I can't even remember the diegetic reason. The exegetic reason is because none of this lore was written years and years and years ago. And so they had to say it was a secret for anything to make any sense. But now that we're done, they may as well just reveal themselves to the world exegetically. So I think that's what they'll do here. They'll justify it in universe now. Ready?
Will you still try to keep the Astral Ward a secret?
The value of secrecy has not diminished, but I must admit it will be difficult to hide what has happened here.
So there you go. So there'll be more of this in Janthir Wilds, I'm sure.
Uncovered is often more dangerous than one fully revealed. If there is time still to shield Tyria from the knowledge of its own frailty, then that must be done. I will evaluate our options, however, and come to whatever conclusion best suits Tyria as a whole.
I like that line about the half-truth, more dangerous than the fully revealed one. Why didn't you come help us sooner? And this is great.
Why didn't you come to help us?
Because he's
sooner?
out for himself.
Such accusation. From your tone, one would think my support never arrived at all. You are not so naive as the rest of them, Wayfinder. You know better than foolish idealism. Until I could be certain that my support would ensure your victory, committing our forces would have been pointless. I do not act without careful consideration. I have lived a long time with the consequences of my prior impulsiveness.
Yeah, I mean, brilliant. These are the stories I'm interested in. Talk to me about naivety. Talk to me about impulsiveness. Talk to me about foolish idealism. Because the game smacks of it, and it's really nice to have a character that stands against that. That's why I love Isgarin so much. He really is against the grain for what it feels like a lot of the game's about. So I really, really adore it. So when we could say, will this piece hold?
Will this piece hold?
I expect so. But there are contingencies for any eventuality. We will not be caught on
See,
again.
he's like Batman in the Justice League.
It will take far beyond your lifespan for their forces to grow strong enough to be a threat again anyway.
You know.
But peace will last only as long as we remain strong enough to enforce it. That is the only reason it ever lasts.
If you're Batman, you know, Superman's great, right? But you've got to keep your eye on him, and you've got to have a plan, as we learn. So there you go. We've succeeded in our mission. So he wants to keep strong. Peace will only last as long as we are strong enough to enforce it. Which is interesting, because what happens once Paitha starts getting stronger on her own merits? What are you going to do? You're going to hold her down? The birth of Tyrian foreign policy. Yeah, go in there and take their oil. Okay, so I guess now we'll just do a bunch of these random characters in any old order and try not to miss. Wayfinder, congratulations. How are you feeling? Any injuries? Happy? Tired? You look tired. Thanks. See, I don't really remember her or what she was all about in the story. Well, come find me in the Sky Garden if you need a salve. Ever try meditation with Goal? I'll keep that in mind. Helping the ward while also helping the Kryptis. It's truly magnificent what you've accomplished. Seriously, go get some rest. Thank you. I will. Here's Zizzle. I quite liked Zizzle. Oh ho, Wayfinder. So much excitement, eh? Cultural exchange with the Kryptis? Oh yeah, cultural exchange with demons. That's what I was... You know, when I saw Secrets of the Obscure, that first trailer, that's what I really thought. I thought, I can't wait to do a cultural exchange with these people. This is what it's all about. Excellent work making this happen. It wasn't all my doing. No need for modesty, regardless. I see they have delegates here tasting Tyrian food. I smell an opportunity for reciprocation. You want to try Kryptis cuisine? Ugh, no, of course not. But imagine what I could create with ingredients from an entirely new realm. Reagents we've never seen. It's going to be delightful. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I feel like it's all cannibalism, even if you're eating the soil there. I don't know. Oh, Wayfinder, I've decided to give a quick lecture. The Kryptis are fascinated with Tyria. Want to pick a topic? Oh, there is. She's got them in a crowd. Sure, why don't you teach them a song? That sounds great. Can they sing? Why don't you teach them about the flora and fauna? Oh, yes, that's a great topic. Don't want anyone getting sick, though some of them look as though they could eat rocks and not feel a thing. Tell them about the sights of Tyria. Great idea. Mountains, forests, deserts. I've got so many areas to describe. Do they have forests in Nios? Wasn't there a bit of story before about how it's shitty for even for the demons in there? It's like they don't even like their own air. And that's one of the reasons they wanted to come to Tyria. Like, this is just so shallow. Okay, so what? So these demons are just wandering around now everywhere. Completely unchecked. They could go feral or mad or, you know, they could do anything, but we're just going to say, yeah, just come have fun. Like Isgarin talked a little bit about foolish idealism and naivety a second ago. Like, this is just absurd levels of, yeah, okay, so just why weren't they allowed to just wander around Tyria before, right? In what way is that really solved? Glade is thrilled to see you, Wayfinder. Urchik too, but Urchik knew you'd survive. The commander will outlive Isgarin, is what I always say, right, Glade? I wonder if that ends up coming true. Enough mini X-Packs down the line. Maybe even the next one. Glade's shaking her head, Urchik. When she shakes her head, that means yes, right, Glade? Was that nod a no then? Probably. The most important thing is that you're saved. Or that of that, Skrit is certain. Thanks, I appreciate it. I love their designs, by the way. I know these are like the derpy, like, sad sack Kryptis, but I've never had a big problem with these guys. I like them a lot. And also, people really bagged on, like, the models and stuff, but come on, it's not bad. The game's not exactly, the gameplay is not exactly conducive to staring at the models in any good detail anyway. So Wayno, don't really remember much about who you are or what you were doing. We live exceedingly interesting times, when you say, an alliance between the Kryptis and the Wizard's Tower after centuries of turmoil. See, and here they're like diminishing it. Centuries? Do you think it will last? No idea. But I never considered it as a possibility to begin with, so perhaps it will. And I hope it does. I'd rather argue policy than stab tentacles. Hold on, maybe I'm getting a bit confused here on that note. The Wizard's Tower, the Wizard's Core is super old and ancient and secretive. This war might not be all that old, though, because Eparch wasn't kicked out until somewhat semi-recently, right? So the war has been concealed as well, and what I've done is I've conflated the two. The war is probably a little bit newer than I've given it credit for, but we're still talking a long war. Oh, not like... Oh, this is great. This is so good. Oh, not like those brushstrokes are quite aggressive. What's going on? I'm trying to show them how to paint. They aren't quite grasping the finesse required. Let me see. I'm expressing myself. Is that not what is needed of me? Says the tormented. What do you say, teacher? Yes, but with a deft touch, and we want to apply some colour theory, and you know what? Never mind. You're doing great. Art is subjective. Keep practicing. Look, and you can actually see they've got like the little attack animations. I think this is really nice. Bit of levity. Yeah, that's it. You hit those. Okay, so I think we can do this a lot quicker than I thought we would. What the fuck? I remember this being very long. You know, it's funny though. I always enjoy streaming it. I always feel like I dig that bit deeper, you know. How old are the Kryptis even if Nios was originally Masat? Well, yeah, exactly. I'm excited to see what Janthir Wilds says about a lot of this stuff. Because is that the idea? Were the Masat living there entirely before? And then they left and then the Kryptis popped up? Oh, Pather, I didn't even speak to you.
My dear. To think I could have made a snack of you when we first met. And now, you've proven yourself an entire meal.
The war only started with the fall of Su-1 because the Void broke the Great Barrier thing in Amatas. Well, no, but the war was predated that, which precipitated the construction of it. It's just that they were able to attack back. It became more urgent and serious with the fall of Su-1. But there were already hostilities. As far as I understand. How does it feel to finally sit on the throne? Finally.
How does it feel to finally sit on the throne?
Comfortable. Though I'll need to do some redecorating.
Yeah, get rid of all the demon vibes. Put some flowers in there.
Never had much taste. In truth, the crown is heavy. There are thousands of wounded to be tended to, dead to be buried, homes to be rebuilt. I knew the cost from the beginning, of course. A king must bear the burden of the entire kingdom. It will be many days before things are right. There will be little time for sleep, but there will be time for dreams.
Can I just say, guys, it's really nice to see chat this active as well as we were playing through this. I didn't really expect much because they're not announced and it is quite late. But yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, I like the idea that the next time we see her, she has redecorated, but she's made it even more fucked up. Like, she's just swapped the blood for bones or something, you know? And she's like, how do you like my decorations? And we'll be like, it's nice. You've decided to spare Xanthiron. This is a good little bit.
Xanthiron is a pragmatist. He will side with us, as long as that remains his best option. I intend to keep it that way. And we need to gain the support of the remaining loyalists. This is the time for reconciliation, not purges. Besides, in a way, having to serve under me is the most bitter punishment I could have given him.
Okay, my head went on a really weird tangent there, so I'm going to talk about some weird shit. Back to the Eye of Janthir, okay. I've only been looking at the Eye of Janthir in the throne room from, like, a meta perspective. Like, oh, this is a teaser for the next expansion. I've not actually been thinking about it as a function of the world and what's going on. And it only just occurred to me to do that properly. And I realised now, it's really fucking cool as an idea. Hold on, guys. So, if the going theory is that the Massat used to live there, and then they left and lived in Janthir or something, right? I don't know what the order is. Maybe they lived in Janthir first, and then they went to the Realm of Dreams for a while, and then they came back, and whatever, right? And I'm sure Janthir Wilds will explain all of this. And yes, someone said in the chat earlier, Titans probably will factor in. Anyway, I guess there's a cool idea that there's probably Massat. Oh my god, there's something really good. Okay, hold on. At the end of Season 3, Livia said, with the last of the Massat dead, the eye will disappear. She said something like that. Someone in chat said we saw it disintegrate. I can't remember what we see. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it didn't disintegrate. It just teleported away. Okay. But look, we know that there are more Massat out there. All right. There were only X number of Massat that didn't flee the previous Elder Dragon Rising and hide off in the mist somewhere. Right. But there are other Massat. The entire race isn't destroyed. Just maybe on Tyria for a time it was. But if there's other Massat lurking around, maybe here in modern Tyria, they found their way back to Janthir, right? Then the eye isn't gone either. The eye, what Livia said may be true, but there's more around. So as soon as there are more Massat, maybe some Massat in this chaos, the Suwon dies, the barrier protecting Tyria falls away, and so this has started, but at the same time, the Massat, who were also hiding in another dimension somewhere, they've snuck back to Tyria now. That works as a story. That is bang on 100% what could have happened. So while we've been focused on this and these incursions with the Realm of Dreams, other Massat who had hidden away somewhere else, they've slipped back to Tyria. So now they've got the eye doing their bidding, and maybe they've just gone back to Janthir because that's where they last were, and they're like, what the fuck, it's been nuked or something. But so, to think about that final throne room scene, they've probably got the eye spying, figuring out what's going on. So that's literally, when you see that, that's not just a teaser for the next expansion. Think about it realistically. That something has sent the eye to do its bidding, to spy on that scene. The Massat are interested in the fact that the Realm of Dreams has had a shake-up in power. Like, I can really... So, I thought about all that as Paitha was going on about whatever she was going on about. I think that could really be what they're doing. And that's all very tangible and followable. I think that'd be quite cool if all those details come out. And it's quite captivating, I think. Who sent the eye there? What were they doing? Yeah, Mabon as well. Yeah, it's just bad writing in some ways. You're right. Yeah, Mabon, obviously, was always around nonetheless. But was he really a Massat after he ascended and changed his view and forgot about his past life. Was he really, guys? Was he really? A Messiah in face, but not in nature. Anyway, how do you feel about the Astral Ward being stationed in Nyos?
How do you feel about the Astral Ward being stationed in Nyos?
There was never any other choice. They contributed their blood to our freedom, and they are too strong to refuse. Iskaran worries about war returning. If this reassures him, so be it. Besides, you Tyrians really are delicious. If they ever become a problem, we'll simply have a feast.
The disintegration effect was unclear. It's entirely plausible that it just teleported or telepoofed. I like that phrase. Yeah, I can stand by that. I think that works. WP, what is the biggest Guild Wars 2 story miss? Mine must be all the hints that the Nightmare Court are controlled by Morgemoth, only for some of them to resist him once Heartthorn started. And it's Primordus and Jormag, obviously. There's nothing even close to that. And just as a broader note, just the rushing of leaving the Elder Dragon story. I mean, that's the other thing that's happening right here you're looking at on screen, okay? There's this question. It's quite fitting we're talking about the Icebridge Saga. We're in the middle of the... Let's say we just had these. They're strong releases. Maybe the community is bitching about them as they bitch about everything. And I'm saying that. I'm talking about myself there. You know, WoodenPotatoes is still not happy. But they're good releases. But whatever. They shit the bed here. Oh, we gotta end all of this. I don't know what happens. What the fuck happens? What happens to make them say, let's do a whole civil war and end the Elder Dragon story over the next, like, 2 years? Let's do it, baby. Go! They make that awful decision. But if they hadn't done that there, we could have got a lot more here. We could have given Jormag a full thing. We could have given Primordus a full thing. We could have given Suwon a full thing. We could have given the Void a full thing and concluded the story. Or maybe it gets concluded here. You know, you can do 2 years on each of these. There's no rush. What are you rushing for? What are you rushing? You're rushing for this? This is your amazing genius storytelling now that you're not burdened by the Elder Dragon story, such as a burden it apparently was. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why this is so important that this was really good, because it had to justify the rush. It had to justify this moment here where everything started getting hurried out. Why? What was the point? I don't understand. You served admirably as both a soldier and a leader. Our king is fortunate to count you among her allies. So you have no aspirations for the throne yourself?
So you have no aspirations for the throne yourself?
None whatsoever. There is a weight that comes with the crown, and I have no desire to carry it. My role lies elsewhere. Aether has proven that she can lead our people, but there will be difficulties that better suit my expertise. When those arise, I will offer my counsel. That is all that is needed of me.
Nephis is a good guy. Hold on. William Hawkins says the game had already dragged for 8 years. Do you want them to spend another? What does that mean? I don't know what you mean by that. Because, first of all, to say it dragged, what? So there was no enjoyment in any of the Dragon Saga up until that point. There was no anticipation, there was no excitement, there was no payoff on any scale at any point. Everything was a drag, the entire thing, just because we had an overarching story ideal. That's nonsense, first of all. There was plenty of entertainment on the way there, and there would have been plenty of entertainment as we continue to go along. Also, what, we're not dragging now? It's not like they rushed the Suwon story to end it and push out Guild Wars 3. Am I playing Guild Wars 3 right now? No, I'm in the same game. It's now 13 years. The only difference is we rushed out a story. I mean, if it was dragging before, it's dragging now. I don't know what that means, really. Do you think the peace will... Wait, we can't ask the same thing twice, right? Do you think the peace will last?
Do you think the peace will last?
For the immediate future, yes. The people have tired of war, and this will be an opportunity for them to prosper. But time will weather that relief, and people will forget what war cost them. We will have to remain vigilant. I promise you this, however. War between Nyos and Tyria will not come again as long as I draw breath. Let us hope my fellows feel as strongly as I do.
Hold on, I think the studio just got tired of writing dragons. Okay, so let's look at that. Were they just writing dragons? No, they weren't. They were writing about gods and despots, and they were doing a variety of different, essentially zombie-related stories a lot of the time. But they were writing all manner of different technobabble and different situations. Ultimately, guys, if we're going to be super reductive here by saying, oh, they're just tired of writing dragons, you can be reductive in another way and say they're just tired of writing about big bads, okay? It's just that's the face of the big bad that was the Dragon Saga, right? This is still the same fundamental story that they've written here in Secrets of the Obscure. It just has none of the weight or levity or, you know, build-up of 2 games and nearly 2 decades worth of storytelling to give it some emphasis and some oomph. This has just been conjured out of nowhere and feels completely empty of real stakes and meaning because it is just swiftly thrown on the stage. It's still a story about a big bad. It's not like, you know, when you say, oh, they're tired of writing about dragons, that's 90% of the Guild Wars 2 storytelling was not about dragons. Well, you know, people talk, when you get that reductive, you make it sound like every single cutscene was me staring at a giant dragon, getting ready to fight it. And then the next cutscene is, oh, I'm still staring at the giant dragon, it's just taking a step forward. Of course it's not that. It was about the construction of the pact, the bringing together of the races, war logistics, you know, the corruption of the Sylvari, the nature of other mysteries, and the broader ideas of what drives the dragons. And then, yeah, they would dot in other stuff. There was a civil war story amongst the Char. There was a civil war story amongst the humans. There was stuff about the dwarves. There was stuff about Joko. There was stuff, you know, there's shit everywhere. It's not just about dragons. It was never just about that. And there was never a need to escape from the dragons. You know, the idea, oh, but we know where it's going. We're going to defeat them. Yeah, you know where it's going with Eparch as well. You're going to defeat him. Again, it's a part of the genre that there's going to be a big bad and you solve the issues through fights, okay? It's not great. It's not particularly high for verisimilitude or, you know, creating a tangible interest. You know, it's not the kind of story you'll get out of a novel or a long-running TV series or something. It's not. Okay, you're going to fight them. It will somehow fix itself because you punch things, okay? It's a combat RPG. That's going to be true whether you have a really long-form story about dragons that you've been building for 2 decades or random shit you waffle out over the course of a couple of years, all right? But one is clearly better because it has some weight behind it. Look, I believe that they're professionals. There's no way that that can be their logic, that somehow dragons are fundamentally flawed and they're bored of writing about dragons. Because they weren't just writing about dragons, and any flaws that the dragons have, other villains will also have, right? And you can come to that conclusion in maybe 10 minutes of real thought about this topic, right? And they're professionals writing for a living. There must have been something else on their mind. There has to be more to this story. Because, I mean, that's just, it's staggering for me to think otherwise. Unless, am I mistaken in some way? I mean, let me know. Is there some element of this that I'm missing? Was Eparch fundamentally better than... You know, and look at each dragon is characterized in a different way as well, you know? Like, Morgemoth was very, very different to Zaitan. Jormag and Primordus are juxtaposed against one another and act very, very differently to one another. Kraukatorix kind of somewhere in the middle, you know, kind of intelligent, kind of communicative, kind of not in some other ways. You know, they played around with a lot of stuff, and there was still a lot more they could have played with. Su-1, obviously, another role reversal. A nice Elder Dragon.
Can you trust Xanthiron?
One need not trust a predator if you remove its claws. And he still has his uses. There are many loyalists left, and we need them to join us if we are to keep this dream alive. They will listen to him. Ultimately, that is more important than the punishment he unquestionably deserves. We are forced to compromise. In many ways, Politics bloodies one's hands more than war. May you spend your twilight years in battle instead.
Oh, that's a good point in chat. The End of Dragons needed hype. So they ended the story because they needed the hype, they needed the box sales. And it's a problem that WoW had after Legion as well. That I can get, alright? I can get the thing of like, okay, player base is dropping steadily, we need to keep getting more people, we can't have our funds drying up. Let's end this story. And that will give us a big point of excitement. I can believe that, yeah. And that's probably the main motivation behind it, I think. In hindsight, I still think spreading it out a bit more is better because you already had the Cantha hook for End of Dragons. That was enough. I don't know what extra proportion of players picked up EOD because it was also ending the Dragon cycle that wouldn't also have just come back because of the fan service of the location. And I know that seems really ridiculous because it's like that's not everyone's a Guild Wars 1 player. I do think a fairly good proportion. I mean, this is the problem. Everyone's always biased to think everyone's like them, and I'm a Guild Wars 1 player, so therefore I'm biased to think everyone's a Guild Wars 1 player. I don't think everyone is a Guild Wars 1 player, but I do think there's quite a high proportion of this player base that are still Guild Wars 1 players. And I think that's a bad thing, by the way, because obviously you want the audience to have grown since the sequel released to the point where they're negligible, but I think a lot of people were excited about Cantha, all on its own. So I don't know whether they need to go that far with the hype, but yeah, you're probably right. They wanted to do their big payoff because they wanted a hook for people to buy the thing. As for, well, just a lot of players were bored of dragons. You know, this is one of those things again, though, where it's like, yeah, but those players haven't done that 10 minutes of thought. You know, not every opinion you read online is informed and needs to be listened to, you know. And I say that completely knowing that I'm just another opinion that may be ill-informed and not needing to be listened to. You know, I count myself among that. Discredit anything I say as well. But, you know, just because I think the casual thought is, oh, dragons, I'm bored of those. You know, I don't respect that as an opinion. Because it's not really an opinion. Because, again, the game isn't just about dragons. It's just like the tiny it's the most superficial sort of analysis as to what the Guild Wars 2 story was, you know. It's just a little bit. They're more like the, oh, what's the word? They're like the aspiration, right? They're not the day-to-day. Anyway. The so-called champion of Tyria. It's a shame we never got to lock horns. I'm surprised you're a part of this.
I'm surprised you're part of this.
Did you expect to see me in chains? You Tyrians can be so naive. Allow me to enlighten you. I served at the side of the king for longer than your kind can conceive of. Who knows the Kryptis better than I? Our fledgling king is wise enough to know she will meet my counsel. That is worth more than retribution will gain her. Let that be a lesson for you then. Your sense of justice will always be subservient to your practical needs.
Oh, and also, I don't want to just be bagging on Guild Wars. I think this is a bit of a conversation over in Final Fantasy at the moment as well. As far as I understand, so if you guys don't know, in FF14 they had the same thing. Guild Wars had the Dragons story, and they had like the Primal Hydaelyn story, let's put it that way. And they were going on for years and years and years and years and years. And End of Dragons came out and finished its a couple of months after FF14 finished its one with Endwalker. And FF14's on its first news story as well. Just as we've got this, they've got a thing called Dawn Trail. And Dawn Trail people have been kind of split on their opinions about. I haven't played, I don't know half of this shit. I'm out of my wheelhouse here. But I do know that it's been a little bit controversial and some people have said it wasn't so good. And there's a similar conversation there because I believe, and now correct me if I'm wrong, but with Final Fantasy, the original scope of their Hydaelyn story, their Primal story, was that there were going to be 2 expansions where they did Endwalker. There was going to be an expansion just about Garlemald, or largely about Garlemald, like an Empire-based expansion. And then there was going to be the one after where you go to the moon and all this kind of stuff. And Square Enix decided to merge them together. They merged both expansions, essentially to rush the end of the story. You could interpret it that way. I think their official quote was that... I don't know. I think it was something they thought it would be too padded if they had kept it as 2. But the original idea was to do 2, and they merged it to 1. And now Dawn Trail's out, and people are saying, well, was that way. I mean, it really is the same conversation, really. So, you know, it's not just an ArenaNet thing. It must sting to be on the losing side.
It must sting to be on the losing side.
Do I not stand here among the victors, Tyrion? Do I not still have my horns? My allegiance to Eparch ended with his betrayal of my brother. It was the only loyalty I held higher. You may not count me as a true ally, but here I stand all the same.
People complain about the dragons, but the dragons weren't the problem. It was like Scarlet Briar. Yeah, I mean, look, we can criticize a billion different decisions they made. Yeah, you know, the dragons are just a vehicle for action. You know, when you look at the core story, which I enjoyed a lot, Zaitan's not really in it that much. It's a zombie story, really. But there's huge amounts of domestic stuff and the formation of the coming together of the orders and the creation of the pact and all that stuff. There's lots of different sequences. Claw Island is a great sequence, I think. Does it really matter whether it was a dragon responsible for those zombies or a demon responsible for those zombies? It's such a superficial thing to say, oh, I'm bored of it being a dragon, you know? And to just ignore the arcs that exist where dragons have nothing to do with anyway, like the stuff with Pilar or Joko or Cordicus or Balthazar. Who else have we had? Nightmare Court's a bit tricky, isn't it, and the fouling stuff. You believe Paitha can rule the Kryptis, then?
You believe Paitha can rule the Kryptis, then?
It is power and authority that rules in Nyos, Tyrion. As long as she holds them, the Kryptis will follow. But do not think that Paitha alone is capable. It is not Providence that has placed the crown atop her head. If she fails, it is a minor setback. The throne of midnight can seat another.
I really like this guy. It seems you care little about the fate of your people.
It seems you care little about the fate of your people.
My people? You know nothing of my people. You understand so little, but you speak so boldly. I have given everything for the survival of the Kryptis. I have acted always for the future of Nyos. But I see what you cannot. That the Kryptis can only be led through strength. I did what needed to be done. Do you have the conviction to do the same?
I like this guy. Again, it's that pragmatism thing. Look, ArenaNet did put a good amount of dialogue in here, which is exactly the kind of storytelling that I want. It's just you kind of have to go off the beaten path for it, I guess. I loved everything about that. That guy was a 10 out of 10. I think there's an interesting route that they're kind of setting up here with the story as well. This peace only lasts as long as there is strength here at the Wizard's Tower. Peace only lasts as long as you can enforce that peace. So it's an interesting thought that maybe in the story of Janthir Wilds, if these guys get fucked up, if Isgarin dies, if the Massart mess around with us or something, if Titans get unleashed, I don't know. If anything messes with these guys here in any of the upcoming mini-X packs, suddenly you've got a Nyos problem again, immediately. And I like that thought, that there's a lot riding on the survival of these guys. After the Kryptis invaders at Amnitas, can't say I felt much sympathy for them. Surprised Dagda did, given what that battle took out of her, or Isgarin for that matter, but glad to see the job done. What will you do next? So this is Lahir, it's not his split aspects, it's just him. What will you do next? I'd love to be working in the Forge, rather swing a hammer at an anvil than a demon. Prefer a stationary target. Sounds nice. Yeah, it sure does. Reality is there's a lot to negotiate with this new Kryptis alliance. I'll probably end up with a lot of political arguments, some of those with myself. Haha, good luck. Corporal Balkin? I do not remember you, sorry.
Hey, Kiona. How's it going?
Well, any of you guys.
Good to see you, Balkin. Did Nyos treat you well?
Yeah, you know. It was pretty intense. But nothing I couldn't handle. So, anyway, now that we've both got leave, maybe you'd want to go somewhere? Holbrook is nice this time of year.
Sure, why not?
Okay. So Zodja, who, on my first time through the patch, I hadn't seen her at all, but obviously she was in the meta.
Wayfinder! You made it!
So did you. Your help on the field was... that entrance. Your power is incredible.
Thanks. Still getting used to how it feels. What is next for you, then?
Not sure. Tyria doesn't know what happened here, or in Nyos. I don't know how long we can go.
I wonder if Janthir Wilds starts with us telling them.
Iskaran's lead until then. So long as everyone is safe.
He knows we need to do something. Tyria is blood in the water now. Who knows what's sniffing around?
Masat.
All ready to bite.
Right.
How about you? Any exciting wizardly duties?
Exciting? Maybe. Once we've figured out what to do with the fractal inhabitants, I, might explore the mists. There's so much out there to explore, to learn. So many things that might help Tyria.
That sounds like quite the adventure.
Why don't you come live in
Are
my
you gonna
homestead?
be okay without, me?
Everyone is going to be fine.
Good. I'll see you later, Commander. Wayfinder. Sorry.
I like that as well.
Goodbye, Zoja.
Because obviously we're transitioning away from the title and all that, you know, the new era, the mini X-Pac era and all that. But it's nice to see they dab in Commander every now and then. There's that continuity. There's another ground in which we can discuss this expansion, and that's like how good this is for new players. And I really don't know. Because again, the idea, look, the other idea behind moving away from the dragons, as arbitrary as it all is and all that, the point is new players can come in with zero baggage, zero story understanding, and just pick up the game and have fun, and you can reach new audiences, you know, because they don't need to be invested in this massive long story. And I think that's a foolish idea. First of all, anyway, like FF proves that people will happily go back and play massive long stories to catch up, and if anything, that's to your benefit because they'll go through all those products. But also, like, how good was this really? Because a lot of this stuff does have to touch on old stories anyway and reference old stories anyway, and a lot of the enjoyment is old stuff. And also, I think, you know, there's nothing wrong with ArenaNet touching on any character that appears in the domestic stuff, because every new player is going to at least play through the first level 30s of the personal story. Probably. At least to the Lion's Arch stuff, you know, and then maybe get bored. But, I mean, the game segues them straight into the dragons from there, so, I don't know. Wayfinder, come to enjoy the pond? I haven't relaxed in a very long time. Might take some practice. I think so. Looks like everyone's getting along. That's a good start. You know, this actually reminds me a little bit of the end of LBA. Spoilers for the end of LBA. But, you know, there's all these aliens are the bad guys, basically. And at the end, they're all living happily down on the planet. And they're all mixing and matching and hanging out together. And that's what this is like to me. Eek! Are you going to dive? That's a long way down. Maybe, still thinking, why do this? It's scary, it's fun. Well, it's up to you, but there's only one way to find out. I like how the commander encourages it to do that, not knowing whether it can actually swim, you know. Maybe water is toxic to these things. They don't have it in their realm, do they? What if it just dissolves like a marshmallow in water? You know those videos where people feed raccoons or whatever? And they'll put like some kind of dissolvable sugar in a pond, and they'll try and grab it, but it will dissolve. Like Japanese game shows doing that. Oh, there's a YouTuber I watch, guys. He's like this old guy who feeds. I'm sure I've talked about this once or twice before. He feeds raccoons. He's from like the south of America, and he lives with his wife on some like property with a bunch of land around it. And he gets a giant bucket of hot dogs. He goes out on his deck, on his porch at night, and he just throws hot dogs, like, on the floor. And he just puts a camera there while he's sitting on a bench throwing hot dogs around. And within 5 minutes, you see raccoons appearing, like hundreds of raccoons. Like, he's called the Raccoon Whisperer. And he's just spent, like, 10 years feeding these animals. And now they've bred like mad, and there's just loads of them, and they swarm him. And every day he uploads, and you can just see how many raccoons he got that day while he just chats about his life and like throws hot dogs and biscuits and stuff. And anyway, so I watched him like years ago, and he's quite an old guy. So this week, I just on a whim, I can't remember why I even did it, but I thought, I wonder whether he's still, because, you know, I do this thing. I think some of you guys might do this with me, maybe, if I can be so arrogant as to think this. But like, I'll watch a bunch of a YouTuber, and I'll get really into them, and I'll really like their videos, but then I'll like, you know, I'll have other interests, I'll move on for a while. And then, like, a couple of years down the line, I'll think, oh, I wonder how they're doing, and I'll snoop on their channel. And I'm always so happy if they're active. If they're doing stuff, I'm like, oh, yeah, fucking awesome. And, or you know, and I'll watch their recent things. So with him, I sort of thought this week, I'll go back and rewatch his stuff. I hope he's okay, because he was quite old, and you never know. Like, there will be a day where he decides, I can't do this channel anymore. But no, he's still going at it. It's like not a day has passed. And I naturally love everything that is consistent and makes it feel like no time has passed at all since like 2012. You know, it's literally the same thing, exactly. He doesn't look any different either. He's quite overweight, and I think when you're overweight, it makes you look younger when you're old because you don't get wrinkly. But he looks exactly the same. I think the only difference is he puts his wife on camera sometimes now. Oh, but the raccoons are all really fat. They're all, I don't know why am I talking about all this? The raccoons are like ultra fat. Is that the way out? I don't want to leave. No, I said I didn't want to leave. We didn't speak to Livia yet. Oh, we can still explore. Holy shit, I thought we were going to get kicked out there. Alright, at least thought I'd get a prompt to press F. We got to speak to Livia. Livia's the hook for the Janthir Wilds. Oh my god, it just dawned on me that we're near the end of this. What time is it? It's been about an hour since... Wow, I really thought this would take a lot longer. Here's Galrath. Another huge win from this expansion. Love Galrath. Looks like you pulled it off Wayfinder. The whole of Naos owes you their lives, whether they realise it or not. Have you changed your mind about the Kryptis?
Have you changed your mind about the Kryptis?
Why would I have? I never doubted that Paitha's forces could win. Just what her victory would really mean. We're going to find out if they're as capable of peace as you hope. It'll be a long time before we know the answer. I'm no warmonger, Wayfinder. If they maintain the peace, I am happy to do likewise. If Tyria is safe, I am satisfied.
He was the best, man. They really nailed some of these prophecies references in this. He was such... He isn't just a fan service cameo. He's like a whole character. Ah, 11 out of 10. Really good. What did you report to Isgarin?
What did you report to Isgarin?
That Paitha's army was winning, and that Astral Ward support should be sent to end the war. What? Not what you expected? I'm a man of my word, Wayfinder. I asked you to prove that you could win, and you did. I held up my end of the bargain. He took a little convincing, of course, but I know how he thinks. A chance to avenge the deaths of Vas, Hakim, and Maban. To give a punitive
in voice
lecture to
acting,
Eparch.
referencing all these dead characters.
He was never going to miss that opportunity.
Really liked that as well, because these are some of the richer, more interesting elements, and they're often just in text. Maybe Isgarin will make you the ambassador to Nios.
Maybe Isgarin will make you the ambassador to Nios.
I like you, Wayfinder.
Nice little bit of sarcasm there. A little bit of sass. You watched my Lake Doric video from 7 years or so ago, WP. That was a blast from the past. More hateful days back then. Yeah, certainly. I mean, I can't deny that there is a change in the tenor of my content. Probably since Dragonstorm. Somewhere around there. Not that I don't feel like I'm as fixated on that release as it probably looks, but maybe. Okay, where is she? It's not here, is she? So I believe each of their rooms has like a book or something that you can read as well. With like some cool hints and things, I believe. Also, hello Cottage. I saw you dropped a message there. I don't know how long you've been in chat. Oh, here she is. Hello, my dear. I was just giving our new friends a bit of a tour before I depart. I know it's been entertaining, but our time together is an end for now. You have a strange idea of entertaining. Worse has been said about me over the centuries. None of it true, of course. What's your plan now? I'll wait for somebody to need me. They always do. Perhaps it'll be you, In the meantime, don't miss me too much, fellow Wayfinder. Hold on, I thought she said she was going to Kryptis. It must be a book. I think there's a book where she's like, it's like her journal or something. And she's like, I've got to go. They're asking for me in Kryptis. I'm sure that's what it is. And maybe, okay, look, a day before the expansion comes out, when we had a bunch of shit about it, maybe it's not as tantalizing as it was when I first saw it, but I immediately, like, really perked up in this instance because I was like, oh shit, look, hints about the new expansion. Also, yeah, I'm sure every single one of these rooms... Here's a note. Dagda. So we're in Nahir's quarters. Writing to Dagda. Zodja has ties to the Wayfinder, much as she might not remember them, and she's determined to volunteer. Makes sense, but I think you're making a mistake joining her. Don't get me wrong, we'd all rather see Paether on the throne than Eparch. Just not sure anything short of Isgaren facing Eparch himself is going to help. Not to mention that you've barely recovered from the ritual that knocked that Norris creature out of Amnitas. I saw how much that took out of you. Are you sure you're up to this? I know I'm not going to stop you if you're set on it, but Dagda, if this fails and you're not here, Amnitas, the Tower, and Tyria are all going to be vulnerable. We need you. If you've already left, well, guess I'll throw this in the hearth next time I burn a fire. Hold on. So Dagda wants to go with Zodja on her expedition into the mists. Am I reading that right? Have I got the timeline correct? This is really new, right, I assume? So it's Dagda and Zodja off on adventures. Just like Anka went off on adventures and fucking went psycho. Anka, another great example of a story couched within the Dragon arc that was amazing. And I don't think it's too disingenuous for me to point her out, even though that was in ultimately the wrap-up expansion. I mean, Anka was one of the all-time highlights of the entire goddamn game. So here's Mabon. I don't know if he has a thing. Obviously he's not alive, but maybe something would have got unearthed. I guess not. Quite sad, really, isn't it? Maybe this statue's glowing when it wasn't before. Ooh, what can it mean, guys? There should be a little, like, artifact that was inactive earlier. But oh, by the way, Zodja is looking into Mabon's quarters. Is that a hint? Is there a suggestion there? Let's see. She goes off on a misadventure and immediately finds the Masart homeland. Tells them about Mabon. They seem nice and friendly. I think a great thing to do in Janthir Wilds would be to have the Masart look really amenable and friendly and, you know, lovely hosts. And we're predisposed to quite liking them because we've just been hanging out with Mabon, who was really decent. And then they stab their knives in our back. I think that would be cool. The sun is fading again. This is Waiting Sorrow's journal. So Waiting Sorrow's been gone. I mean, this is the best thing about SOTO as well. SOTO, there it is. SOTO. Wait, which one is it? SOTO. SOTO. I don't know. It's secretly obscure. The sun... Waiting Sorrow is a brilliant mystery. I'm looking forward to this in Janthir Wilds. The sun is fading again. When it does, my room will get dark. I will sit here alone as long as I can endure it. In that darkness, a calm nothingness once waited for me. I missed that. Sometimes I heard footsteps from above, Astral Ward hurrying to their stations, maybe a laugh somewhere down the hall. Long before the tower was filled with bodies, Vass would rush inside without notice, excited to show me something new, something pure. But now, screaming, crying, the kind of crying that turns your stomach sour. My mind swirls with the flickers of caves and dead cubs and starving cold. Starving, cold like I've never felt it. The kind of cold that Jormag summoned, unending and bitter. It makes me feel alone. I love all these little references to the dragons they keep dabbing in. Dust covers those memories, if they even are memories. They'd have to be from before I plunged into the depths of Tyria's magic when Isgaren ascended me. I don't know what I see, what I smell, or what I hear, but all of it haunts me the same. All of it makes me want to shed my fur and stand before the light and beg for forgiveness. I don't even know what needs forgiving. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Dagda sees right through my eyes, into my soul, and Isgaren's gaze. I've disappointed him, and I haven't even left yet. But I think I need to. Oh! 12 out of 10! I'm really curious about this fucking character. And also there's this weird stuff about, like, bone skinners. Isn't there something? Is Cottage still in chat? I'm sure there's some tantalizing hint, like, modern stuff going on about Coden becoming bone skinners. Maybe this is the kind of transfer. I'm very, very, very curious. See, this is where I do regret not having played some of these post-game stories, but they were just structured so boring in terms of the gameplay. Also, I'm just kind of... I want stories to be laid out a little bit more plainly for me at this point as well. I don't really like doing the detective thing. Where you open 30 wiki pages and try to line things up right to get the full scope. So then we got Isgarin, who has a note. This is from Vivienne. Isgarin, here are the books and artifacts acquired from Zakiros, as you requested. So he's already plundered the Citadel and trying to get their knowledge. Kindly return these to the vault in a timely fashion. Even wizards are not exempt from due dates, much as it seems they believe otherwise. Vivienne. The only potential bone skinner may be about what happened to Frode's friend in the backstory, but we're not sure if it is referencing that. Okay, yeah, maybe it's not the bone skinner thing then. Now, thanks to Janthir stuff, we know the Scepter of Ore may be reacting to something in Janthir, as it supposedly had the power to control Titans. Hold on, what's this? There's some new Scepter of Ore stuff? Yeah, I did notice that Mabon's statue is glowing in the room. Did I not talk about it just now? I definitely did spot it. Oh no, I think that's what prompted me to talk about the glowing artifact. So where's this other note? I'm sure there's a note. I think it's upstairs on a table or something. It's quite close to here. I think it's in like one of these side chambers or something. Ah, here you go. Yeah, look. I think this is the... Here you go. To Livia from a niece. Here we go. So help me, you'll muster the energy and return to the city at once. I don't care what disguise you must wear to gut it out. Come as an ooze or an especially sharp rock. But there are things I must discuss with you. Generally good things, I might add. But when the Queen is involved, so must you be. Where Her Majesty is involved, so is the blade. I like this as a... Their interactions we barely got a glimmer of in Season 3. And I'm excited to return to those. You know, the weird power struggle between the two. Seniority versus, you know, the higher rank. I like these two. And remember, for years, there were theories that Anise was Livia. So it was quite a fun moment to realise that, no, they were different people. So there you have it. That's the little clue that something's going on in Kryta. Obviously, Kryta is the region immediately to the south of the Verdant Cascades and Janthir, so obviously there should be a bit of Krytan influence going on. I think that's it, guys, except maybe this telescope. You can look at the stars in the sky. The skies look a bit clearer tonight than they have before. The perfect night to reflect. In the distance, there are fireworks. Beyond, stars stretch into the vast reaches of the heavens. And that is Secrets of the Obscure, with no small amount in every single episode of bitching. So listen, guys, for those of you who have watched this and enjoyed it, thank you very much. Thanks for indulging me. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next X-Pack. Remember, it releases tomorrow. I do have an affiliate link for it. I'm pretty sure it's in the description. If you guys want to click that, that really helps me out. If you're going to buy it and play it along with me, then that would be awesome. And yeah, I'm going to stream 2 to 3 hours. It will be streams just like this, basically. We're going to do it like sort of in a format that hopefully will work as a Let's Play off in the future. Anybody who's watching this in the future on the VOD, please feel free to drop comments. I love the comments and I will read the comments. It doesn't matter whether it's it was originally up as a stream or not. And yeah, let's drop out. I want to read as well real quick, just as we wrap up, what the story journal says. This is crazy. This Necro never actually got past part 4. So Secrets of the Obscure. That's the prologue. The war with Eparch, Paitha's fight to save the Kryptis people from destruction is ended. So too is Isgarin's centuries-long conflict with the power-hungry ruler of Nyos he'd once thought to ally with. Tyria, see, we never really got much of their backstory. Tyria is freed from the Kryptis threat, but uncertainties remain, as does a healthy amount of caution. Can Paitha even maintain peace? Or will Eparch's assertion that demonkind must always feed prove true? So can't you talk about this in the main... That's the only thing. It's just slightly... The cooler bit is slightly shunted off to the side, that's all. But it is there, which is great. Will Isgarin reveal the existence of the Astral Ward or their new Kryptis allies? Or will he fall right back on old habits? If nothing else, maybe the alliance between Nyos and the Wizard's Tower could serve as an example to the leaders of the nations of Tyria. If Isgarin could be convinced to reveal it, could such an alliance even hold? Perhaps I'll find out soon. You know, if these demons are going to start waddling around other areas of Tyria, I mean, the information's going to get out pretty goddamn quick. What is this? You're allowed to visit Tyria now if you're a Kryptis, but only in certain places that Isgaran deems are acceptable. It's hard to fathom how far we've come. So there you go. The first mini X-Pack is over. And, sans the fractal. Is the fractal any good, guys? Let me know if the fractal's any good. Yeah, I'm not gonna be on Twitch, guys. I'm gonna be here, and I don't care about drops. Also, I'm not streaming tomorrow. Day 1, you can play it for yourself and enjoy yourselves. But day 2, I will be. So yeah. And I will be looking, as it goes along, we'll be looking into dual streaming for sure. If it's as common and comfortable as it sounds at this point. What I just need is, I think the one thing I really need to look into is my internet stable enough for it? And secondly, unifying the chat. I'm not quite sure how I want to do that, but we'll see what bots and things are available for that. If anyone wants to help me out with that on any level, please just feel free to message me. So there you go. Anybody got any questions or mini reviews of your own? Please put them in chat now. I'd love to hear. What's your take on Secrets of the Obscure? Or if you want to bounce a thought off of me at any level before I turn this off, really, we can do a quick little retrospective Q&A. Again, for me, on just as an opening thought, I think that the launch was really good. I think that the world building and the like concrete lore and thought about Tyria's history was really good. I think ArenaNet did an excellent job, and if they do the same on the next one, I'll be very, very happy. I think everything in Naos itself was a misfire and was very weak. Ultimately, what that comes down to, though, is 3 patches and 1 year in the history of the game, which actually is very, very little. You know, we've done 13 years at this point. It's not 13 years, is it? Is it 12? Is it 11? Anyway, this is a drop in the bucket. We've had a lot of dodgy years, alright? We've had years where absolutely nothing's going on, really. So, overall, in terms of quantity, I do think this is pretty good. And, look, if you just rewind, if you take the most recent, as of tomorrow, okay, the huge batch of content coming tomorrow. So, if you take the past 13 months, Guild Wars has got a lot of stuff. And yeah, bits of it were a bit weak. But I think there are elements of quite good storytelling here that hopefully they continue with. So I am hopeful. And considering that the launch day stuff was really good last year, I think this one will hopefully be really good as well. And they just need to change tack when it comes to the living world elements. Post-patch stuff, sorry. I've got to stop saying that. You've been dual streaming YouTube and Twitch. We can talk about it on Discord. That's awesome, dude. I would love to talk to you about that. Did you know the soundtrack's already out? Yeah, somebody told me in chat. I haven't listened to it. I don't know. I know the X-Pack will likely be getting us roped into some expedition and there we'll discover Titans or a thing. I mean, I'm sure Titans are in it. That concept art looked so good. I don't know whether there's... Again, I mentioned this earlier in this video, but I'm quite blind to specific details on the expansion, which will make, if I do this blind, quite a good experience, I think. I think if they're going to do Titans, then the Scepter of Ore definitely is going to play into it. I mean, come on. Come on! I mean, the Scepter of Ore is one of those last big mysteries. They got to do something. I bet they even do something about the Staff of the Mist. Also, they have actual names now, don't they? What's the name? They tell us here, and there was a tower. If I remember exactly where it is. There's a book.
From the heart of Mount Maelstrom.
No, a Pact Commander reconnaissance log is not going to be what I'm looking for. I think on one of these crates. Heavy book. Here you go. Legavo. That's what we should be calling it now. Legavo. This was such a good book. The Vizier is finally dead. That saga has ended. Dawn is broken once again. There was a day where Isgaran thought to get involved in the global affairs once Legavo, the Scepter of Ore, resurfaced, but the ward's numbers are still weak following Eparch's last push during the Century of Darkness. Hundreds of years, and we're still climbing out of that hole. So yeah, the Demon War was going on. But yeah, Legavo. And I think it might even mention, oh god, we lost the Scepter. Whoopsie. Following our recovery efforts after the Battle of Redacted, Mabon is headed to Janthir. We imagine that the Massar are dwindling, and with a handful of Titans still remaining on this side of the Veil, he intends to establish a warding enchantment, though the reasoning for such has been limited to the core. The newly established Rift Hunters will also be using their reprieve from the Astral Ward duties to venture to the Tyrian mainland in search of lingering Mistborn threats. So this is a cool detail as well. The Wizard's Court set up a ward around Janthir. You know, this is really cool to read, knowing we're about to do. Like when we were reading this when Secrets of the Obscure was new, I just resisted saying SOTO there. It was amazing to read, but didn't have the weight of knowing the next X-Pack would be Janthir. But here you have it. Guild Wars 2 died gracefully with End of Dragons, in your opinion? I mean, it's like the Final Fantasy thing again. That was the saga, right? I don't know. A lot of Guild Wars 2's identity was about the dragons. So yeah, now that we're saying it's not just about the dragons, it's a difficult transition to make. I mean, at the end of the day, though, if ArenaNet just keep pushing, just keep doing, just ignore the naysayers and the bitches, like me. Just keep going. Don't be dissuaded. Just keep going. And I'll tell you what, in 7 years' time, when there's 7 mini X-Packs out and the Elder Dragons are but a distant memory, no one will be wringing their hands about this stuff. Just keep going and tell good stories. That's it. So Mabon put this warding enchantment up. I take it with his death it's now faltering. That's a really good thought, yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, I think that's a brilliant thing. There's multiple things they could go into now that explain why Janthir is relevant. I like the most, though, that it's the Veil dropped and whatever this... I like the idea there's a third realm that the Massar were in and now they're sneaking back in or something. Well, maybe it's a different kind of Veil to the one that the World Spire was throwing up. Maybe the World Spire breaks. They realise that the Massar can sneak in. Mabon goes there and puts up... Oh, no, that doesn't really work out, does it? Oh, what I need is a unified timeline of all the ticky-tacky pieces of lore. I would devour that. I would make a video about that. One long fucking timeline. Can you imagine? You wonder how Legovo and the Eye of Janthir play into the plot. I just hope something good happens with Legovo. Because, do you remember when I did my Dragonstorm coverage and I cut in the end of Eye of the North, that final cutscene of Eye of the North, where it was Primordus opening his eye, and it was like, oh my god, this will get resolved in the sequel, and then we had Dragonstorm. You know, that's one thing, but the real thing that I think about at the end of Eye of the North, the real stinger, is Livia standing there with that fucking scepter. And also the stinger at the end of Prophecies is the scepter disappearing. I mean, it's so cool. It's like it's like the mystery. So it's really rich
to get used to the elevation.
For me, as a Guild Wars 1 fan, area to talk about. So there you go. Also, no, not most were sick. You might have been. I hate this thing that people do on the internet, and I'm trying to stop doing it myself. But someone feels something and they act like they speak for a majority just because they think it gives their argument weight. No, you can't say most people. Well, where's your stats for that? Go on, what fucking research have you done? You're just supposing that. Don't state that as a fact. Have I thought about continuing my no skill challenge? No, not at all. It's done. It's the game becomes much more of a game once you hit Living Worlds Season 2 and 1, I guess, now that it's in. I don't think it would be possible. I mean, maybe with a lot of very specific things, but I'd rather put my energy into other stuff, to be honest, than something like that. It was fun though. I liked the no skill challenge. Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching this. Secrets of the Obscure. I'm going to update the playlist, take that Zeus episode out. Tomorrow there'll be a Let's Play episode. I'm not sure which game. Maybe 6. I'm not sure. And then the day after that, we'll be playing Janthir Wilds. So I will see you guys there. Keep an eye on my Discord, because I'll be announcing when it's going on. I'm not sure the exact timeline. This one's been quite late. I'd like to do it around 5 in the afternoon, but I don't know whether that will really line up. We will just have to see. But yeah, so thank you guys. It's been a good one, and I'll see you for the new expansion very, very soon. Take care of yourselves. Thank you again for a lovely chat and a cool experience. And I'll see you soon. Take care.